Your morning just got more interesting. Distilled and barrel-picked for your listening pleasure. Bo Bishop, a local sports media legend. What William T. Sherman was to the Union Army, he is to Northern College football. A husband, a father, and middling youth sports coach. He's friends with Central Ohio sporting royalty.
Talking to Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjorken. Coach Day walking on with us right now. Good to see you, buddy. Good buddy Austin Ward. My good buddy Tim May, the Tim May Show. The great Doug Lavery's joining us.
Hi, everybody. Dom Tiberi here.
Oh, Reese came in and he handed me papers.
Yeah.
And then he said, "You see that button? That's the only button you need to worry about. Don't touch. There's 8,000 buttons in front of me." Oh, I didn't know what he was talking about.
The one that says on.
We blew the budget on this imaging, and only 2 guys answered our ad on Craigslist. Ryan Baker and Eric Reeser. Act accordingly. You're now listening to Bishop and Friends.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years.
All right, let's go live on a Thursday edition of the program. Both the boys with you for the next 3. 9:30, our buddy Greg Wyshynski, ESPN on the NHL side of things. Joining us, 10 o'clock, your email, another full mailbag this week. 10:30, Paul Finebaum going to drop by the program. At 11 o'clock, we'll do a little higher or lower. My night last night was one of those ones where you're staring at an app trying to decide if youth sports are going to happen. And they said, we're going to go. We're going to give it a go. And so we had Bootsy in town, and then we had NBC about a half hour away, and no turf fields for anybody. So you hope for the best. Bootsy got first game in, got second game in, and then downpour. Like halfway through second game, just unmitigated, build an Ark Noah downpour. Same thing happened to NBC. They both got their games in, so we were thankful because this has been a brutal spring for this. So obviously, though, this is not in the brochure for Memorial Day week. So fast forward to this morning, and I'm taking NBC to school, and it's gross. It's gross. I mean, you're living in it. We're all living in it. It's awful. This is not what it's supposed to be this time of year. And he says to me, hey, Dad, do you know that Ohio is the last state in terms of dopamine production? So I say, you don't even know what dopamine means. In the back of my head, parenthetically, I'm thinking, I don't know if I know for sure what it means, but I'm pretty sure it's like positive brainish wave stuff. I think that's what it is. It also could be some sort of narcotic. I wasn't entirely sure. And so his response was, yes, I do. It's the thing that allows for your brain to make you feel happy. And I said, well, where did you get that study that Ohio is dead last in the country in dopamine, in happy humans? And he goes, well, I saw it online. And I said, oh, so basically I saw it online is now the equivalent of, well, they said. Well, who's they? Nobody knows. Nobody knows who they are. That's what it is. So I said, that's interesting. I said, I find that hard to believe because I've been to a lot of the states in the union, and there are several that suck a lot worse than Ohio. I can think of several that
I have absolutely nothing I want to do in Indiana.
That's a great job. That's one of them. That's one of them. Absolutely. So then he goes, well, yeah, but we have to be the worst state with a big population. I said, what are you talking about? We got a Great Lake. We got rivers. We got the Hocking Hills. Like, what do you want? What are you kidding me? This is the worst. So then he goes, yeah, I think we ought to move. I said, well, what states are number one on your list for dopamine production, allegedly? And of course he goes, Southern California is really good. And then we go right back to that. So this is what we're dealing with. And I guess the big win here was I was impressed that he kind of had a pretty good idea of what dopamine meant. And I said, it's probably not a coincidence that the sun production in those states that you have high, it was Florida, California. I think the other one maybe was Texas, I think is what it was. Maybe that big orb in the sky is the thing that we're all craving a little bit more than anything else, Reese.
Next time you talk to him, ask him if he knows who Andrew Huberman is. Because I have a feeling that's what's being pushed to him on TikTok.
Who is that?
He's a neuroscience doctor at Stanford who has a huge online following. He does a podcast, and a lot of what he talks about is get enough sunlight to raise your dopamine, like your natural dopamine levels. Okay. And it gets pushed onto every social media channel imaginable. Like, he's got a really good social media following. And so as soon as you said that your son had told you that Ohio had like the lowest, it's that like that on TikTok, that on Instagram, like that's what the algorithm's sending him. Like these guys, some of them with legit degrees, some with internet degrees, talk about dopamine and sunlight and every other self-life hack you could think of.
Is at least if it is this guy you said was Stanford. He's a Stanford guy.
So he's got legit bona fides, right?
Because the last guy that he wanted to idolize was Top G, and he's currently in a Romanian prison.
No.
So he does now we're not. We haven't heard about Top G in a while. I'm like, well, he's in prison for child trafficking, bud. So maybe that's not who we ought to follow. So that's it. Okay, fine. At least it's a Stanford guy. That's fine. We can get behind it. What this does allow for, though, is quite honestly, the weather was so cruddy that you can watch all the sports you want. And I'll be honest with you, I was in on Knicks Pacers from jump. I was. I don't know if it was a nostalgia play. The one thing that's tricky about nostalgia is there's a line in the it's the movie that was the movie that was based on the book Great Expectations. Ethan Hawke's in it with Robert De Niro. Not a lot of people saw it. It's really good. But one of the lines that is in the beginning of the movie is, "I'm going to tell it how I remember it, not how it happened." And that's an old thing about our mind's eye. And sometimes nostalgia can be that way. It can be the way you remember it is romanticized versus the actual reality. So I will just tell you, as someone who lived through a bunch of Knicks Pacers games and series in the 1990s, it was not good basketball. It was not. It was ugly, gross basketball. The average score in these series, we don't have the MIT kids looking into this. They got better things to do, including trying to find more dopamine. But what you're going to find is that the average score was probably something like 82-78 when they played in the 90s. It was rock fight central. It's really gross basketball. So I was into this thing from the jump. Now, I'm flipping a little bit, so I'm watching a little bit, and then all of a sudden First Blood's on and Django's on, so I'm going to watch 10 minutes of that and then check back in on the hoops. But rest assured, for the most of the second half, it was all hoops. And it felt like certainly an instant classic was happening before us as the Pacers did what they did down the stretch. And I do think that the idea that Halliburton hits that shot, he thought it was a game winner. It was a game tire. He did the Reggie Miller choke, so he pays homage to Reggie Miller, who's calling the game. So Reggie's cackling as the shot goes in, which I thought all of that was great. And we'll get into the game itself and kind of what happened. But I do think, fellas, that this is the exact thing that the NBA needed, because the Western Game 1 ratings were down 24%. It's just a tough sell with OKC. In the meantime, and really Minnesota to a certain extent, there's nostalgia at play here. And then in Game 1, you got an instant classic. I do think this has the chance to be one of those water cooler sports moments. If they can keep delivering like this, that it's going to be one of those things, did you watch Pacers-Knicks last night? And perhaps, and this comes full circle, our garbage weather will play a role in that.
And maybe the stage has been set already beforehand with this series, because the Knicks have had multiple huge comebacks. Same with the Pacers. Now we get this in Game 1 of this. It's almost like you have to watch these games because no lead is safe with these two teams.
Yeah. I mean, it was 14 with less than 3 minutes to go. How much of this were you watching to seek it out, and how much of it did you catch because it was on social and it was like, oh my God, I got to go see what's happening? How much were you into this, Reese?
I caught late because of what the chatter was. I felt like this could go one of two ways, where the Pacers would bomb the Knicks or the Knicks would bomb the. I didn't think it would be this close in Game 1. And I was thrilled that it was like in the fourth quarter. You're like, you're seeing how close it's getting. Then I flipped into it because I was watching the Western Conference Finals, and I know we'll get to that later in the show. But to see everything happen, in, like as Baker said, in the last 3 minutes, to see Halliburton make that shot, to see Rick Carlisle really coach an incredible job coaching, as he did in the last series against the Cavaliers. And for both of these teams, there's bubbling animosity.
Oh, yeah. They both have that. They're both very chesty. I mean, there's a lot of throwback to this. There's a lot of Anthony Davis, Dale Davis, Anthony Mason, Chuck Oakley, Larry Johnson. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff in this. It's simmering in this series, and it feels like the players can't wait. I thought it was so cool that Halliburton did that with the paying homage to Reggie Miller. I knew what it was right away because I remember Reggie doing that. I don't know how many folks out there were aware of the reason that he was doing it, but it was awesome, and it set the stage. And I think it's one of those, if you're the NBA, you're hopeful that the word of mouth of how great that was leads into, so their next game will be Friday, right?
Correct.
Should be Friday night. Okay. And by the way, if we have we have garbage weather here on Friday, so does most of this region, and you're talking about 50% of the U.S. population within 500 miles of Columbus, Ohio. So that's if that region's watching, that's a big region. So if I'm the NBA, I'm pretty optimistic about what happened last night. And that was an unmitigated collapse from New York. We will get to that. You mentioned the Western Conference final in the NHL started last night as well. Speaking of collapses, we'll get into that as well. Greg Wyshynski coming up at 9:30. Your emails coming up at 10 o'clock. We're off and running on a Thursday. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
We're the highest rated sports radio station in America. There's no joke there. We just are. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Don't sweat it. Call Care Heating and Cooling and we'll fix your air conditioner fast. 1-800-COOLING.
Master Grillers Unite. The grilling season never ends at Billiards Plus. Come see their best-in-class grills for yourself and check out Central Ohio's largest selection of pool tables, game furniture, and shuffleboard. Family owned and operated. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Bobcat Enterprises says thank you for your support as they celebrate 50 years of serving the construction industry. Established in 1975 in Cincinnati, Bobcat Enterprises has expanded to 9 stores to meet you where you are in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. Find equipment for any construction project, including compact track loaders and excavators. Plus, Bobcat Enterprises rents compact equipment and attachments. Find current specials and locations at bobcatent.com or follow Bobcat Enterprises Inc. on Facebook. Bobcat Enterprises, 50 years working for you.
When you're on the go, every minute counts. Meyer Home Delivery and Pickup helps you make the most of every second. Get all your weekly shopping done online, quickly and easily, from wherever you are, whenever you want. Have your Meyer order delivered to your home by the service awarded #1 in grocery delivery. Or pick it up yourself while out and about, whatever works for your schedule. The good life is in reach with Meyer Home Delivery and Pickup. See Meyer.com for details.
Common Man and Bob Capace here for Worthington Jewelers. Bob, you know what I love the most about you?
That I pay you to do these commercials?
That and the way you treat your customers.
All right, listen. I will hook you up in our warm, inviting environment. You will be greeted by our top sales professionals that are non-commissioned, but will help guide you through the entire process.
You're my guy, Bob. Worthington Jewelers on High Street in Worthington, worthingtonjewelers.com. Tell them Bob Capace sent you.
We've discovered the perfect morning ritual, the 2 for $6 breakfast sandwich deal at Tim Hortons. Every sandwich is made to order with a freshly cracked egg and melty cheese, just the way breakfast should be. Choose between savory sausage or hickory smoked bacon, served on a toasted English muffin or flaky biscuit. There's no wrong way to mix and match this tasty deal. 2 breakfast sandwiches, just $6. Perfect. Only at your neighborhood Tim Hortons. At participating U.S. restaurants, single item at regular menu price. Modifications and tax extra. Exclusions and additional terms apply.
Get Mega May discounts at Coghlan Kia. Lease a new Kia K4, only $89 a month for 24 months. Or get 1.9% financing for 48 months. Or $2,000 bonus cash on a new 25 Kia Sportage or Sorrento. Visit CoglanKia.com.
Coghlan has the car for you.
$49.99 due at signing. 10,000 miles per year. 20 cents per mile over. Tax, title, and license fees excluded. No security deposit. $400 disposition fee at lease end. 1.9 for 48 equals $21.65 for 1,005. With approved credit through KMF. Residency restrictions may apply. Offers cannot be combined. See dealer for details. N6225.
We here at The Fan want to make your mornings as enjoyable as possible. That's why we bring you T-Bone and Tybus, a delightful blend of sports conversation and laughter. A show so good you'll forget all about your dead-end job and underachieving children. Maybe you saved a lot of money to send them to private school, and then your daughter shacks up with some dude named Fuzz. And you can't tell if your wife's angry or not because she's had so many fillers shot in her face that it can't move anymore. Anyway, T-Bone and Tybus, it's good.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
The Fan.
2 guys drove to work. Neither guy wore a seatbelt. One guy got a ticket. One guy didn't. The same 2 guys drove home. One guy wore his seatbelt. One guy didn't. One guy made it home. The guy not wearing his seatbelt didn't. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty. Do you want to sell your property, however, you need a little help getting through the process? Let's say you have years of belongings in the home. It needs a lot of updating, you're overwhelmed, and you may need help finding a place to go. I will help you. Visit us today at TurboTrackRealty.com or call me now for an all-cash offer and, more importantly, the help you need at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Hey there, Central Ohio. It's going to be a cool day out there today. Temperatures in the 50s this morning, and we won't really make it out of the 50s this afternoon with showers possible throughout the day and a high in the upper 50s. We'll see a high near 60 tomorrow with drier weather and continued improving conditions as we head through the Memorial Day weekend with temperatures getting back close to 70 by Sunday. That's your latest 10 weather impact forecast. I'm meteorologist Michael Behrens on 97.1 The Fan.
Matty Ice is currently bathing himself in creamy jalapeno dip. And I've officially run out of ways to tease this show. Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays at noon.
The Fan. If you say something with enough confidence, it must be true. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
If you subscribe to the notion of a playoff series can be over after one game, I would say the two, the one on the hardwood and the one on the ice last night, would kind of fit that bill. Incredible collapses for both. Clearly, I mean, the Knicks were playing so haphazardly at the end of the fourth. At one point, Jalen Brunson, they're pressing. It's a 2-point game, and Brunson, they got lucky. Brunson gets trapped in the corner and just throws it into the middle of just throws it to nobody. I mean, I think he was trying to bounce it off somebody's leg, but missed. And they were lucky to even get it to a point where somebody could hit one of two free throws, and inevitably Halliburton hit the two that ended up tying it. But it's as big a collapse as you're going to find. However, when you're dealing with Indiana, this is kind of who they are, which is pretty remarkable. They get it from a different person, it seems like, any single night. Rick Carlisle last night, quick to point out, it's just one win of 7.
This is day one of 13 days. Remarkable resilience by our guys, hanging in, finding a way to get the thing to overtime, and then made enough plays. But it's a long series. We're not going to get too excited about this. We got things to clean up. They got things to clean up. Game 2 is going to be another war.
The thing I think you're going to remember is the Halliburton choke. Here is Tyrese Halliburton on the choking gesture, paying homage to Reggie Miller at the end of the game.
In the moment, I mean, I wasn't like plotting on it or anything. Everybody wanted me to do it like last year at some different point, but it's just gotta feel right. And it felt right at the time. If it would have been, if I would have known it was a 2, I would not have done it. So I think I might have wasted it. If I do it again, then people might say I'm like aura farming. So I'm not. I don't plan on using it again.
Tyrese Halliburton is my 13-year-old. That was aura forming.
That's good awareness by him, though.
Everybody's talking about the choke, and I get it, the nostalgia, Reggie Miller, and all of that. I think him just handing the ball to Karl Anthony Towns with 0.2 seconds left off the inbound might have been a bigger jerk move than doing the choke sign. I mean, who does that?
Pretty great. They're both pretty great. I mean, it's pretty great, I think. I hope that I hope that we can look. What you need is a little bit of character. You need a little bit of flavor. And I think the one thing you can say about this series is you're going to get it in a big way. I will tell you this. It was really distracting for me. I felt like every time that the two teams were at the one end, I found myself just watching Larry David, who was sitting courtside. So it went Larry David, David Zaslav, who's like the CEO of Max and Discovery. HBO Max now. He went back. And then John Hamm. So it was John Hamm, the boss of Warner's, Max, whatever, and then LD. So every time that I would see something happening on the positive, and by the way, Susie was next to LD. I didn't even know her real name, but Susie on Curb Your Enthusiasm was sitting next to LD. So you had it was like a Curb episode because Ham's been on Curb as well. Hell, it might have been one. Maybe they're filming a new season. Who knows? But they were all there. And so every time that something positive or negative happened to the Knicks, my eyes would go to LD and see what his reaction to it was, which was pretty priceless.
Does he own any other outfits? It always feels like he's dressed the same. Which
this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at with this. The Mannings are this way too. Like Peyton Manning pretty much has a uniform. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm certainly not comparing myself to those humans. I find that I now kind of have a uniform where I wear the same outfits pretty much every day. And I think it's just easier than having to. So if I find something that I like, whether it's shoes or shorts or pullovers or golf hoodies or whatever, if I find something that I like in that, I'll just buy a bunch of them. like of the same thing in just different colors. If I find something. So I think as you get old, Reese, I think the key to it is not necessarily ultra successful, because certainly I'm not that. But I think what it comes down to is the as you get older, you just don't want to think about anything. You just want to get up and go.
I think you're partly right with that, Bo, but it is like an uber ultra successful person thing. It's things that they don't have to worry about. Like, I've done some reading up on people that are ultra successful, and they wake up at the same time every day. They eat the same thing every day. Like, their meals don't vary very much, and their clothes are the same, because it's just decisions that they don't have to make. It's taken off their plate. They get up and they know what they're doing, and they can get on to more important things.
How are their dopamine levels?
Probably swimming in
all through the roof.
Yeah, right.
Scrooge McDuck, they're doing just great on the dopamine.
Well, you can buy like ultraviolet sun ray lights for your house, and you'll be good.
Like the red
buy the
glasses or the blue glasses.
You're right, though. Like Steve Jobs was that same outfit every day. Why am I blanking on the kid who owns Facebook? Zuckerberg. He's like that. Tim Cook, who runs Apple now, is like that. The Ballmer's like that. There was a guy named Dwayne Hagedorn who was in the golf community that Amy's parents are in Palm Desert, and he was the founder and owner of Lake Coeur d'Alene Resort, which is this is where we're attempting to go, and I think we're going to be able to, but it all got sorted out. But so he was the owner of this place. So at one point they had like a party at their house in Palm Desert, and there was like a tour of the house. And if you Google the house, you'll see why there was a tour of it. And there was a tour of it, and in his closet was 100 white polos with Lake Coeur d'Alene Resort logo. 100 of them. That's all there was white polos. And then all there was for pants was navy blue shorts and navy blue pants, like blue khaki shorts and pants. And he wore the same outfit every single day. That was the outfit every day. To play golf, to go to dinner, to go anywhere, same outfit. So there is something to that.
Jim Tressel.
Tress, don't want to think about it, man. Tress was
decisions already made.
It's a crafty. I like that one he wears now, where he's got he's got the Youngstown and the Ohio State, one on each.
It's custom embroidery right there, brother.
Yeah, one on each chest. No Akron though. I don't, because he was there too. I don't see the A anywhere on it.
His wife had to do that, right? She stitched it in there for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's from a generation that probably knows how to do that type of work, I would think. Certainly her mom would have. Yeah, I think that's a custom. I don't think they're selling those on the racks at Buckeye Corner, a Youngstown State, Ohio
They should.
State sweater vest.
Or at least the ones at Northeast Ohio.
The ones in Youngstown should, for sure. I mean, they absolutely should do it. I think this is going to be remembered for the choke, and I think if you're in the NBA, you're hopeful that this sets the stage for people buying into this. And I do think the weather could help, because the weather's garbage. And I think in this part of the country, people will turn it. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have. We would have played at that. I probably would have been outside with the boys, getting some shots up. Who knows? But it was garbage. So we were in.
Just watching last night and then seeing reaction from Knicks fans, who their dopamine levels have got to be just plummeting. Just apoplectic on the courtside seats from guys like Timothy Chalamet. Like, watching him brought great joy to my heart. And so I'm like, can the rest of these games just be at Madison Square Garden? But then I thought about, no, I do think you need some of that Pacers energy, that like Game 3 is going to be insane.
It's going to be nuts. It's going to be absolutely nuts. I think Chalamet deserves a win. He doesn't have enough wins right now for him. Parading around with the Kardashian. Go ahead.
With this, though, like Game 3, we need to get Tyrese's dad back in the building and have him doing something as well, with Tyrese doing his thing. Because as we've talked about with the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, sports are better when you got someone to root for or someone to root against. And, man, Halliburton is playing the heel pretty darn well.
Did you hear Chuck ask David Silver if Halliburton's dad could come back for 3 and 4?
I did not hear
Barkley
it. I saw that he...
What was his answer? Is he...
He played it coy. It coy.
They should allow him back.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think it would be great to have him back. We did have a collapse, and we'll get into this, Greg Wyshynski, in about 3 minutes, but we did have a massive collapse in the NHL as well. It's 3-1, and I stopped. I did not go back. It was Dallas down 3-1 after 2, and I said, okay, that's good. And I know a 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead. I get all of it, but it just felt to me like, all right, I don't need to check back in on this. Let's see what Rambo John Jay is doing in Oregon instead. So that's what I did not see the comeback from Edmonton, Big. Did you stay?
So I was bouncing back and forth, but I locked in at the start of the third period. I saw it all. It was insane.
That's crazy. 5 in the third to win 6-3. I mean, we talk about one game defining a series. If you're Edmonton, I don't know how you get up off the mat from that.
Bo, not only that, though, but 3 power play goals in less than 5.5 minutes. Just boom, boom, boom. And if you remember this series last year, Dallas was 0 for 14 on the power play and gave up 2 shorthanded goals in the 6 games against Edmonton, and then they just rip off 3 like it's nothing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I obviously caught up this morning, but I was thinking it was cooked and that was it, and we won't make that mistake again. All right, we'll get some perspective on what's happened so far in the NHL playoffs, get his thoughts on what the Blue Jackets should do this summer with our good buddy Greg Wyshynski. He is a senior NHL writer at ESPN. He's up in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text BODY to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text BODY to 321-321. That's BODY to 321-321.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
What's up? What's up, man? What's up with you?
Sponsored by Newman Roofing. For all your roofing, gutter, or siding needs, call Newman Roofing today at 614-NEW-ROOF or visit online at newmanroofing.com.
All right, here's what's up on a Thursday. We had it on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Conversation with our good buddy Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer at ESPN. Well, buddy, I certainly understand and don't ever take lightly the struggle of a 7-game series. And you absolutely cannot win or lose the series in game 1. That is usually the thinking. But I don't know. That might get put to the test after last night. What did you make of what happened in the third period? And an Edmonton team that has the weight of a country on its shoulders, man, that feels like that could be damaging.
Well, I mean, the team that wins game 1 wins like 68% of the time in the series. So the game 1 does carry some importance. I think what happened to the Edmonton Oilers last night is they forgot that there's 3 periods. They were absolutely – they dominated for 40 minutes, man. Like, the Stars looked cooked. Anyone who's watching that game is like, how is Dallas going to even be in this series with the way that Edmonton's flying around and controlling play, and Stuart Skinner's not even being tested, and the Stars look like a step too slow. And then, they took a couple of really bad penalties to begin the third period, and there's a chronic problem with this Edmonton team. The good news is that it gets better as the series goes on. The bad news is that it's chronic for the beginning of the series, which is that their penalty kill is atrocious. They've given up 13 power play goals on 25 chances in the first 3 games of every series this playoff. Now, the PK has gotten better after that, but it still remains a chronic problem. And in Game 1, it was absolutely the reason they lost. I mean, the Stars got it was like somebody put a defibrillator on them to find a pulse with the first power play goal, and then they keep going after that. And then, Dallas has that ability of just like finding their legs and finding their confidence, and Edmonton has that ability to kind of sulk a little bit when things aren't going right.
Yeah, we were talking about this in regard to, you think about the Canada Youth Program, and they can identify them better. I think they can identify the superstars better than any other sport. Like like Gretzky, Lemieux, Crosby, McDavid, and Bedard, right? He's next. So then I started thinking about this, and like Sid won his first cup at 21-22. The great one is 22. Lemieux's 25. I think sometimes we forget McDavid's 28. And I'm sure that there is a tremendous amount of like, damn it, I better win one of these things pretty quick. And you saw what happened after the Game 7 loss, last year in Florida. And it's like, man, I cannot imagine what he takes to the rink with him on his back every day.
Yeah, and not only that, but like you look over at McKinnon, he's won.
Yeah,
other guys in McDavid's Jack Eichel, who went right behind him in the draft, has won. So there's like a lot of guys that have their rings, and Connor hasn't. And obviously he's come very close, conference finals, and then obviously losing Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final last year. So yeah, there's like the weight of the world in this guy's shoulders. To validate his position as the best player in the world with the championship ring that the best players in the world have always won. I mean, I still think back to when Ovechkin won with the Capitals that one year, and what a relief it was to think this guy's probably going to be the leading goal scorer of all time in the NHL. And thank God we don't have to have that Hall of Fame debate when he gets in about, well, he never won the cup. And it just relieves all the pressure of a legacy to be a champion, to go along with your individual awards and things of that nature. And, Connor, let's say the quiet part out loud. Connor's a free agent in a couple of years. like this is a window for Edmonton to do something with this guy. It doesn't mean he's leaving, but it means he can. And so there's that added pressure of what is the window to win with Draisaitl and McDavid, and it obviously is now.
Yeah, it sure is. I can't imagine. And how did what happened last night? Let's go back to kind of where we started here. Did what happened last night change the way that you think this series can go?
It does. Well, no, because I thought the series would go 7 and Dallas would win. So,
so you're in play.
I'm feeling pretty good about that right now. But no, I mean, the Oilers. The Oilers are a funny team because there were times in that Vegas series where you're like, oh, they've got it figured out. They're playing great defense. There was a period where they held Vegas to one shot. All the Golden Knights' big offensive guns didn't fire, like Eichel and Thomas Hertl and those guys. So, the Oilers are playing the kind of defense that you need to win a cup. And for 2 periods, they were playing the kind of defense that you need to win a cup. I mean, the only Dallas Stars goal came on a turnover and a breakaway the other way with Tyler Seguin. And then it kind of all falls apart. So, if you're an Oilers fan, you're taking away this from Game 1. It's still chaotic whenever they play. They are a very chaotic team. Look no further than some of the games they played against the Kings in the first round. But they usually have found a way to rally to win those games. But the other thing is that not every game is going to have 3 big mental mistakes and 3 big power play goals in the third period. It's just not going to happen. And so if you're the Oilers, you're like, the Dallas Stars just had a C-plus game at 5-on-5. Their top line with Rantanen, Rupe Hintz, and Michael Granlund, while they cooked on the power play, has 1 even-strength goal generated in the last, 5 games. So, you're feeling pretty good about even strength, even if Game 1 we went off the rails.
Talking to the great Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer at ESPN. Let's do a little on the East here. And probably the best use this year certainly are on a very short list of what to do at the trade deadline. I mean, Florida gets Marchand. You go, well, that's perfect. And then they get Seth Jones, and you're watching the Game 7 in Toronto, and it's Jones who breaks the ice and gets the goal. And you look at this team now, this is some heavy stuff for our old guy Bobrovsky here. He's got a couple of Vezinas. He's already got 1 cup, and when he's good, we all know he's as good as anybody. I know Carolina's game. I know they're going to be frisky the rest of the way here, but this Florida thing feels inevitable from my perspective, Greg. I'm sure it's not, but what do you make of them?
Well, I'm in Raleigh for this series. I'm covering the East, like a one-man gang with all the ESPN people on the other series. But the thing about Game 1 that the Hurricanes sort of refused to acknowledge is that it wasn't just a loss. It was Florida basically flipping the script on everything Carolina does well and then winning that way. I mean, they scored 2 power play goals against a penalty kill that had only given up 2 power play goals in the entirety of the playoffs. They were the first team to score more than 4 goals against them in the playoffs. They were the first team to beat them at home. Like, they made a statement win in Game 1. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that Carolina can't respond. I think the key to the series, and it's kind of a normie take, but it is scoring the first goal. Carolina remains undefeated when they score the first goal. They're only 3-3 when they don't. And when they score the first goal, they can kind of like let their breath out a little bit. They can get to their game. I have a story on ESPN.com today about their offensive struggles, like not only this season, but traditionally. The later it gets in the postseason, the harder it is for this team to score. So, when they get down early, it just becomes a little insurmountable. There's something in the back of their head saying, here we go again. We can only generate at most 2 goals in the conference final. So if it gets away from us, then we're in real trouble.
Yeah, it's kind of straightforward, and encourage you to read that. This should be a great series, and both of these should be, and hopefully both of them are long. Greg, if you permit me one on the Blue Jackets in terms of their off-season approach. I got folks texting me saying we got to go Blue Jackets for Marner. There's a lot of people who want to swing big this summer based on kind of the way everything happened this year. If you were Don Waddell in charge of this operation, what would you do this summer?
Well, Marner's a real tricky one. Look, he's an insanely talented player, and you throw him in the mix with the young guys on this roster, and you really got something, on the ice. It's the leadership part that worries me. It's the being the man that worries me. And granted, the spotlight, I don't think it's any lie, is a little bit brighter in Toronto on you than it is in Columbus or in a lot of markets in the U.S. But I think the ideal landing place for Marner is a place that already has an established veteran core that's won before. So I don't love the idea of him going to like Utah or Columbus or places that are on the come up and him having to be the guy. I don't know if he's made for that quite yet. For the Jackets, though, like Provorov is to me the biggest question. I mean, you're going to have to commit some years to a guy that is going to be in his late 30s by the end of a long-term contract, but he's such a valuable defensive defenseman. And then the other thing, too, is that, and it's like a broken record by now, got to figure out the goaltending. Got to figure out exactly what the tandem's going to look like. Got to figure out if there's a way to move some bodies off the depth chart and get an established veteran in there that can help out and stabilize a position that, quite frankly, if it's stabilized, could lead to Columbus, really making a wild card push next year with the roster that they have.
Yeah, we're just hoping for sustainability of that, my friend. That's what we're finally hoping for here. So hopefully we get it. Appreciate your time as always. I know it's valuable. Thanks for giving us a little bit of it today.
Anytime. It's always a pleasure. Thanks.
All right, there he goes. Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer at ESPN on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Game 2 of the East between Florida and Carolina is tonight in Raleigh. Coming up next, we have an MVP in the National Basketball Association, and we have some awards in terms of the sports media world. We'll get to all of that coming up next. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
We used to have a billboard with our host's face on it, but only ugly people work here now.
You mama say you ugly, hey!
The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, I think I saw a fox on my way in.
Oh, that was the Carfax Carfox. He was congratulating us on our Carfax Top-Rated Service Center Award.
I have always rated Tire Discounters at the very top.
Oh, thanks. So does Carfax. And not just for tires, but for all our services, too.
Alignment, brakes, shocks, and struts, and more.
Yes, sir.
But, Mike, do you think people believe Carfax over me?
Well, you are the Phantom tire buyer.
Exactly.
Do you suffer from leg pain, leg swelling, varicose veins, or leg ulcers? Dr. Barry Zeta and Dr. Joseph Senta at Ohio Vein and Vascular Polaris are pioneers in the vein and vascular field. Dr. Zeta and Dr. Senta can perform minimally invasive procedures that will get you back on track to a pain-free life. Stop living with leg pain and start the process to healthy living with a free healthy leg screening. Go to loveyourveins.com or call 614-324-VEIN. That's 614-324-VEIN or loveyourveins.com.
The Roofing Guys are your locally owned, trusted family business right here in Central Ohio. They've been hammering quality and service through the roof for over 25 years, offering professional services in roofing, siding, gutters, and more. Contact them at theroofingguys.com. That's theroofingguys.com.
Stories like this are really who we are. Hi, it's Steve Lindsay with Lindsay Honda. One of my son's coaches was having an issue with his transmission in his Honda. He had gotten quoted almost $9,000. He's like, can you help me out on the price and getting one through your Honda dealership? And I said, yeah. I said, but let's bring the vehicle in and let's make sure you, in fact, do need a transmission. We did a complete flush on his transmission and a software update on it, and that fixed his problem. And this guy has an extra $8,500 in his pocket because he reached out and I was able to connect him with my staff. We're going to take a step back and to make sure we're actually treating the core issue, not just the symptom.
This month at Lindsay Honda, choose a 2025 Honda Ridgeline RTL, Honda HR-V or CR-V, and pay just $299 a month at our famous Lindsay Honda Trade-A-Thon. We'll trade for anything and give you $1,000 more for your vehicle all month long. Visit lindsayhonda.com for details.
Hollywood Casino Columbus is bringing the funny this summer. Tiffany Haddish takes the mic on Friday, July 18th with the Funny and Fearless Tour. Then Dion Cole Live hits the stage Friday, September 5th for a night of nonstop laughs. 2 comedy icons, 2 unforgettable nights. Get your friends, grab a drink, and get ready to laugh all night long. Big names, big laughs, only at Hollywood Casino Columbus. Tickets available at Ticketmaster. Visit HollywoodColumbus.com for more details. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Master Grillers Unite. The grilling season never ends at Billiards Plus. Come see their best-in-class grills for yourself and check out Central Ohio's largest selection of pool tables, game furniture, and shuffleboard. Family-owned and operated. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Common Man and Timmy, they're good, clean boys. If you enjoy a radio show hosted by immature men with slightly above average sports knowledge, they've got you covered.
Weekdays from 3 to 6.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Evan Cohen here. Picking a place to build a life is a lot like selecting a draft pick. Make a decision that will set you up for long-term success. Pick Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, you'll find dynamic career opportunities, beautiful seasons, affordable living, and legendary weekends. From its high quality of life and great schools to its fine arts, culinary, and pro sports scenes, Wisconsin gives you so much to look forward to. That's why you should pick Wisconsin. Learn more about making Wisconsin your home. Visit pickwisconsin.com.
Progressive knows when you're in your RV, you're already on vacation. That's when you become Vacation You, who just camped where there's absolutely no shade. Even though regular you burns easily. In fact, Vacation You burns too, but is too stubborn to admit it, which is why regular you gets in trouble at the dermatologist, because Vacation You doesn't do doctors. So bundle your RV with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
The Fan Poll is brought to you by Caster Connection. Visit CasterConnection.com to shop online or to work with our Caster Solution Specialists.
With friends like these, who needs former college football players? This is Bishop and Friends.
NBA MVP announced yesterday, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning the award. He received 71 of the 100 first-place votes, 29 second-place votes. Joker was the only one who had any first-place votes. He had, basically the two of them had all of the first and second-place votes. State school math, but it was the two of them. 71 first for SGA, one for 29 for Jokic. Then it was flipped the other way, 71 seconds for Joker and 29 first for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is, he's Canadian-born, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, he was a Kentucky guy, played at Kentucky. One of those guys that I remember him at Kentucky, but I don't remember him being like the dude.
I don't remember him at all.
You don't?
No.
Just because NBC loves him. I don't remember him being the dude at Kentucky. I'm trying to think who was on those teams. So he started the year sitting behind Quade Green, whoever that is. Inevitably, let's see. He was a consistent contributor to a struggling UK team that had a 4-game losing streak during the season. He became a starter along with Hamidou Diallo, Nick Richards, Kevin Knox, and PJ Washington. So he was There was a pretty nondescript Kentucky team that he was on. He declared for the 2018 draft. Kentucky lost to Kansas State in the Sweet 16 that year. So, and now he's MVP of the league. Of all those UK guys that Cal has had coming through the mix, I don't know that anybody would have had that. He was also the throw-in from L.A., traded him. He was in the Paul George deal. So that's the deal that allowed for them to acquire Paul George and team him with Kawhi Leonard. And in addition to all, they gave up a bunch of first-round picks, if memory serves, too. I think it'll go down as one of the worst trades in NBA history. Paul George goes to L.A. They don't win anything. SGA and a bunch of ones go back, and then he ends up being the MVP.
Yeah, they got 5.
Yeah, I was just looking at this trade. Just ridiculous.
Give it to me.
Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, who was a pretty good player as well.
Yeah.
5 first-round picks and the rights to swap 2 other first-round picks for Paul George.
5 ones?
Which is why they are stocked and loaded for the next 6 years. They've got all the picks in the world.
They should try to get Giannis.
If they even want, I mean, yeah, they could get. You could be in the mix for anybody. The only thing is your ones are going to be bad ones, or no? I guess they're the Clippers ones, aren't they? They're not even your ones.
Oh, they'll be bad but good.
Yeah. So you could get the Clippers. You're going to get Clippers ones for a long time. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's you. I didn't realize it was. I knew it was several. I didn't know it was 5 ones. That's absolutely diabolical trade to pull that off. Yeah, Oklahoma City's not going anywhere. We're going to have to get used to seeing them in the mix because they're young, they're deep, and they have, a bunch of ways to continue to improve that roster going forward. Yesterday, we also had the Sports Emmy Award list. Some interesting ones here. These were the National Sports Emmys. So, for example, Outstanding Personality Studio Host, Ernie Johnson. That's appropriate. I think he's the best. He is the single best at doing that. And I've had a chance to meet him twice, and both times that I've bumped into him, told him how big of a fan I was and how incredible it is, the job he does. Could not have been a nicer dude. Just so humble, such a good dude. That to me feels like he's on that avenue as long as he wants to be, and win that thing. And they're taking that whole show to ESPN, so they'll run that whole group over and take them all over there. So he's just going to be on the ESPN part of it. But that's as big a win as can be, and that makes a lot of sense. I'll be candid with you. I did not know Joe Davis. So Joe Davis won the Outstanding Personality Play-by-Play. He's at Fox and FS1. I had to look it up. He's on the number 2 NFL team with Greg Olson, but he's the voice of baseball on Fox, apparently. You guys probably knew this.
I knew who he was. When I read this, I was like, oh, that's good that I think he's tremendous. So it's good to see him get recognized. But I do think the layperson has because, again, a name like Joe Davis doesn't really stand out.
I knew the name because I knew that's who Olsen got paired with when he got bumped by Tom Brady.
Yeah, right. And I didn't realize, for some reason, I thought Kevin Burkhardt did baseball too. I assumed he replaced Buck on football and baseball. But apparently Joe Davis did on that. Who would you give this award to if not for the guy who won it? Outstanding Personality Studio Analyst. So the winner was Charles Barkley. I think Charles is almost like a cheat code because he's not.
Is it an analyst?
I don't even think he's an analyst. He was a little bit last night. He did say, I thought he had a really good point at halftime last night where he said, look, the Knicks are winning, but Indiana is winning because they're playing the style that Indiana loves to play, and he was right. And if they play this way, Indiana's going to win the series, and I think he's probably right on that front. But if not for Chuck, who is the best studio analyst? Who is currently the best studio analyst in college football?
So I had thought when I saw that the person who won the Outstanding Personality Emerging On-Air Talent gave the best analysis, albeit not in a studio at all during the season. Like, even on the NFL draft, Nick Saban was tremendous.
He was.
But none of it was studio-based. It was all live.
I would have said in college football, it would have been Urban. Urban would have been the guy to me, I think, because I think he does a great job on that Big Noon. I mean, I'm a little biased here because I'm a big hockey guy, but I love what Paul Bissonnette does with the TNT guys. I think it's great.
And he's studio as well. So there is the Outstanding Personality Event Analyst, which they gave to Peyton Manning. And I can only think of him on the ESPN2 NFL Monday Night Football.
The Manning cast.
Manning cast, thank you. I was looking for the word there, but I don't know if I'd consider outstanding. I think they do good work, but the guy you mentioned, the guys that I've mentioned, I think do a better job if you're trying to get analysis out of it. Like Manning just...
I think it's a cheat code with Manning.
Yeah.
I don't think he's I don't think he's an event. I think he's a host. Right? To me,
yeah, who hosts that?
He's the host, and they don't do it all the time. So, to me, this is like an Aikman world. Manning to me feels like he can't be an event analyst. Like that seems like Herb Street, Aikman, Romo, Collinsworth, right?
I also think it's tough when you're talking about studio analysts. Like with the NFL shows, there's 19 of them on each network.
Yeah.
So none of them can really stand out and shine because they say two sentences and then it's just it's like a hot potato.
I think they should have gave it to Gronk just for Bo's sanity. They should have gave an award to Gronk.
Did I tell you what NBC asked me about him?
Was it the Aaron Hernandez stuff?
No.
Oh, no. Because that's probably populated his social media timelines.
No, he saw. Yeah, he did. I don't know if he's seen that yet, but he asked. He goes, "Is Gronk?" And he wasn't being a jerk. Like he asked legitimately. He's like, "Is Gronk special needs?" That's what he said. I went, "No, he's."
I'm guessing he's ADHD for sure.
He's not. I don't think he's special need. No, he's not that. Yeah, I think Manning's a bit of a cheat code. I think Urban is incredible.
Yeah,
as a studio analyst, and I'm with your point on Saban Reese in terms of his. He was great. He was really great on everything that he did on that side of things. If you had to have one play-by-play guy currently working narrate your life, who would you pick?
I'm going to go Kevin Harlan.
Man, narrate
So
the life
excited.
because that's so different, right? That's not if they're good or not. That's just a great voice.
Yeah.
I mean, Harlan's pretty good. That would be tough to beat.
I'm going to tell you something.
Mike Tirico, maybe. I think Tirico would be pretty good at that.
Can you imagine if every day when you woke up, you got a "Hello, friends" from Jim Nantz? There's just an earnestness that you'd walk through the day with.
I think it would be, while it would be great to have, I don't know if it would get you properly prepared to face the day.
I was going to say, I feel like I'd be sleepy. You almost need...
It's so relaxing and it's so calming.
You almost need Gus
I kind of need
Johnson.
Gus Johnson to be like, "It's Monday," and that gets you going.
The world famous Bo Bishop.
Yeah, that would work. That's a shot of adrenaline in the morning.
Who needs coffee?
You don't need it. Just write to that. We'll get your emails coming up next. Second hour of the program. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Oh, hey, the best football team in the country's on the best radio station in the country. Congratulations, Buckeyes. Here's to 100 more years together. Your home of the Buckeyes, The Fan.
This is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health, where we've successfully treated thousands of men for low testosterone and helped them feel like their old selves again. Please take a moment and listen to how we help Billy.
Hi, I'm Billy Hatcher, a former professional baseball player, and I'm a patient at Tri-State Men's Health. Before I started the treatment, it was like my body was sore all the time, and I was feeling very, very sluggish. One day, I would be full of energy, and the next day was like, where did all my energy go? And since I've started, my body hasn't felt this good in a long time. I feel like, I'm not 21 to 25 again. It's just been great. I feel very, very comfortable coming here. When you have the energy, it's amazing. You get to do so many other things that you couldn't do prior to that. If you're tired of hurting in the mornings, you want to improve your health, you want to feel better, give a call to Tri-State Men's Health. I promise you, you will feel better.
Thanks, Billy. It's true. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com.
When you're a AAA member, we do the hard stuff for you. So picture this. You're taking a road trip through the mountains at night, and you run out of gas. Do you, A, call AAA, or B, walk 29 miles to the nearest gas station in the pouring rain?
A?
On the plus side, get more with AAA. Go to AAA.com/plus side.
Get Eco.
ECO. Aaron, I love that we fix ACs for free.
I don't think we do that, Jerry.
Get Eco.
ECO. Stay with me, Aaron. I'm going to explain to you how it works.
You're going to explain to me how my own invention works?
Get Eco.
ECO. Step 1. Some other HVAC company tells a customer that they need a whole new system.
Yes.
And then they call us.
They can always call us, Jerry.
Get Eco.
ECO.
And then we repair their system for free.
No, then they pay us.
But we give the money back, right?
We give them back all the money they paid us to fix their old system when they finally do need a new one.
Up to $1,500, right?
Right.
Aaron, we're fixing HVAC systems for free.
Get Eco.
ECO.
We extend the life of their system.
That's right.
Those extra years are free. On me.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Eco. Plumbers, electricians, and HVAC technicians. GetEco.com.
Hey, it's Anthony Rothman. From sold-out stadiums under Friday night lights to more than 100,000 screaming fans on the banks of the Olentangy. America's football capital is right here in Ohio. But the greatest football players and coaches of all time live up the road in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And a trip there should be on every football fan's list. Go to 971thefan.com/goldjacket and enter to win a VIP experience to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Ignite the passion. Relive the glory.
It always seems to happen at the worst time. You're finally in bed after a long, hard day, and then you hear it. You sit up, heart sinking. Is that coming from the ceiling? All of a sudden, it's a middle of the night flashlight hunt to find the leak. But don't worry, Newman Roofing has you covered, literally. With more than 3 decades in the business, we've seen just about everything a storm can throw at a roof. Our teams know how to spot the problem, explain your options, and fix it right the first time with craftsmanship and care you can feel good about. We're not just here for a quick patch job, and we never will be. We're here to make sure your home stays protected season after season. So when it comes to your roofing, siding, or gutter needs, choose the company you can trust, Newman Roofing. Call Newman Roofing today at 614-NEW-ROOF. That's 614-NEW-ROOF, or visit online at newmanroofing.com. Don't just get a new roof, get a Newman roof.
This just in. The NFL schedule has dropped, and you know what that means. It's go time. Adam Schefter here with the Insider Tip. If you're trying to catch your team live this season, Vivid Seats is the move. For the best selection of games and seats, it's time to snap your tickets up now. Vivid Seats has great deals on great seats and the only rewards program in the game. It's no wonder they're the official ticketing partner of ESPN. So don't wait. Head to vividseats.com or download the app and lock in those game days.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reese. Sir, the New York Knicks blew a 17-point fourth quarter lead last night at Madison Square Garden in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Pacers guard Tyrese Halliburton nailed a long two at the buzzer that sent the game into overtime, tied at 125. Indiana would go on to get the win, 138-135, and take a 1-0 lead in the best of 7. New York's going to host Game 2 Friday. On the court tonight, the Thunder host the Timberwolves in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. OKC leads there 1-0. On the ice last night in Dallas, the Stars beat the Oilers 5-3 in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Edmonton led 3-1 entering the third. Dallas is going to host Game 2 tomorrow night. In baseball, the Guardians split 2 with the Twins yesterday. Cleveland's at Detroit tonight at 6:40. The Columbus Clippers host the Iowa Cubs this afternoon at 12:05. This update is sponsored by BMI Federal Credit Union. Enjoy rates lower than the national average, plus a special rate on balance transfers with a Visa Platinum or Visa with Rewards credit card.
10 feet tall and bulletproof isn't just a saying, it's a way of life. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
Indeed you are. Time to open up that mailbag on a Thursday.
Our comment box is always open. Any feedback is mostly appreciated.
The mail never stops. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. There's never a let up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more. And you got to get it out. And the more you get out, the more it keeps coming in.
Bishop and Friends present emails.
Another full mailbag today. We start with Jeff, the subject, college football and the Olympics. Hi, Bo. I hope you're doing well. I'm really concerned about the non-revenue Olympic sports in college moving forward. They've basically been shut out of the House settlement process and have already lost over 900 roster spots, and schools are likely considering cutting those non-revenue sports to allocate more towards football and basketball. I know Americans love their football, but they also love the success we have in the Olympics and the pride as Americans we have. College sports is one of the biggest reasons why we do so well. As a former, current, and incoming NCAA athletes make up the majority of the U.S. team and many other countries for that matter. How do we protect these sports? The travel alone for these sports makes no sense and will only give more reason for colleges to cut them. I get that the individual sports may not garner many eyeballs, but Americans reap the benefits when they get to celebrate gold medals. We got to figure this out. Thanks as always for providing entertainment for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Well, you're welcome, Jeff, and thanks for the email. It's quite honestly, buddy, it's a $100 million question, several $100 million question. And the answer to it, I think, unfortunately, is you don't. I just don't think it's in play. I think that the idea that this governing body was trying to govern a sport that profits a couple $100 million a year the same way that it governed a sport that lost money is just untenable. And they drove the boat into the iceberg on this thing. I think what's the short answer to this is you're going to protect the sports that you care about. I just think it's that simple, and I think a lot of these are going to fall by the wayside. I think there will be places that still do this at elite level who have, kind of infinite funds, your Stanfords and places like that. I think Ohio State's going to have some very interesting decisions to make with the amount of sports that they continue to support. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. I think that there was many things that could have been done in the last decade that would have prevented it getting to this point. One of them would have been for there to just be football conferences and everything else kind of remained the same. But there wasn't leadership. There just wasn't. There was not smart leadership in the sport in college athletics. Everyone was kind of out for their own. They were trying to pad their own pockets, and the penalty for this is going to be, a huge step back in the support of the Olympic sports. I can't, guys, find a way out of it. I really can't.
There is none. No, they line their own pockets for decades. They kick the can down the road for the next guy to have to deal with, and the next guy's not any better off dealing with anything than they were 20 years ago. Just years of inaction have created the spot they're in where these Olympic sports are just going to have to go by the wayside, and it's going to be at kind of each individual school is going to decide which matters more, and how do you put a value on one program's volleyball team against another school's volleyball team? It's an impossible ask to try to keep all things similar, and I do wonder that maybe what some of these sports do is they just go hyper-regional. They stop doing the conference thing, and a lot of schools are paying their own way to play, a la just become a club team.
Isn't it the history of the world, right? And greed kills everything. Mm-hmm. And in the end, they were making all the decisions based on greed. And we all get it, right? Football's what moves the needle, and it's what makes the money. But when you make decisions just based on that, other things get killed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it sucks, but I don't know that there's a way back from it. Unless you get subsidies. Maybe you get subsidies from... I can't even say that without laughing. You get subsidies from the Olympics, like the U.S. Olympic Committee, which has all the money from the amount of money that NBC's paying from them. I don't know. Maybe that's a way around it. This one from Robert, the subject, college coaches and their pay. He writes, I appreciate your show. I don't think coaches should have to give back pay to support their programs. If you have to ask coaches to give money back from salary to pay for NIL or other assets, then you're saying as a program that you have not budgeted your resources correctly to achieve your program's goals, and that you lied to the coach in the contract as to how much money he's going to make. If you need the money you promised to pay a coach to construct your roster, then you ought to have promised him less and put the money into the roster. I don't think this should depend on salary. Organizations have enough money to pay coaches $25 million, have copious resources to deploy, should be held responsible for deploying them reasonably. Using external agreements to pay coaches does not alter their principle. If Ohio State uses external contracts to pay coaches, they could have used those contracts instead to pay for NIL, and if they cannot, it is likely because they intended it so in providing input to the NCAA and state rules governing them. He's right on the last part, right on a lot of this. And then he continues, it is hypocritical of coaches such as Kirby Smart to say that players should be unconcerned with money. Coaches in college football are paid extraordinarily well, parenthetically, well enough not to worry about external rumination. If the games that they are coaching generate enough money to warrant that pay, and everyone who makes that possible is paid, but the people who actually play the games complaining that people who would play should not be concerned with money is asinine. Yoge's Law says that money flows towards the writer because while editors, publicists, and management insist on being paid to do the work, the company that employ them insist often that writers should not be concerned about pay because of art, exposure, or something. Perhaps an analogous law needs to be coined for players in college sports that generate huge amounts of revenue for colleges and their employees, but are deemed unworthy of rumination for themselves. There was a lot that I think probably made me smarter in that, Robert, and I appreciate the email. I think that the simplest way to answer that is the system's broken. We all know it. Of course, right now, they cannot use their own funds to pay for NIL. There's usually state laws that they're having to get around to do that. The point we were making is there is so much money in the sport, but they can't apply it or choose not to apply it the way that they should. And the only way that you could really do that is something we've said, I don't know, 1 billion times, and that is professionalize college football. If you just do that, then you're going to get some common sense on all of this stuff, and then you're not going to have to pay coaches $12 million because you can then spread it out amongst everything else, and you can spend that money on the players, which is something that would give the coaches control. My hunch is that if you polled most coaches and you said you're going to lose 30% of your roster or 30% of your salary, maybe even as much as 50% of your salary, would you take that for control of your program? My hunch is most would probably say so, because $6 million a year is still really good.
Yeah, I think even the top earners in the sport, I think would acquiesce some from their contract, some of the guarantees for their contract, if it were to give them more control over the rosters, more control over NIL deals, because then you could make it back with bonuses. You know, it goes back to the thought about Jim Knowles not, the contract Ohio State gave him wasn't up to snuff. It's like, well, if you win playoff games, you get bonuses. If you win national championships, you get bonuses. So the money can be there, but it does, and he's absolutely right on the point about allocation. That's the name of the game in all of this. But nobody's done this before, so nobody knows how to properly allocate anything. It's like Miami paying, a bunch of money for an offensive tackle in high school, and Ohio State saying, no, we're not going to do that. Because it's a tackle, and we feel that we have a better allocation than Miami just throwing $4 million at a Carson Beck.
And I'll say this on this part of his email when he says they signed the contract. You shouldn't have signed that contract if you weren't able to pay them that. Well, the game is changing, right? A lot of these contracts, even if you signed an extension after last year, things are changing. The landscape of all of this is changing. So that's why I wonder if we're going to see eventually a little bit of a course correction on some of these, as we talked about, college coaches and their salaries. Like, is Ryan Day going to be making $8 million instead of 12?
Well, Ryan, and really, football's not the problem. Like, they arbitrarily pay sports that don't make money a ton. I mean, that's the other part of it that's the issue, is that part doesn't make sense because, again, they're a nonprofit, so they have to spend that money on something, so they've upped the salaries on all of this stuff. This one from Travis. The subject is USC versus Notre Dame. I feel Notre Dame needs to quit their whining about USC not going to play them anymore. They want to play them, join the damn Big Ten. Quit your complaining. USC wasn't too smart because that's what they should have used as the reason and not the travel. Well, Travis, you're near and dear to my heart then, because that's what I think the Big Ten should do. You're not going to join our league. We're not going to play it. And I think adding USC, further cements that. This one from Andrew, existential POV on LeBron. I don't want to get too existential with this take, but yesterday you mentioned it may be too soon in LeBron's life to get an honorary degree from Ohio State. In this case, you guys are absolutely right. It is mutually beneficial for both parties, but LeBron could leave this world at any moment. And he cites Kobe's accident, Pete Rose Hall of Fame. Valid. Do things when I don't know. I like that headspace of do things when you can and not worry about, because I'm guilty of that in my own life. Like, I'll do that later, and then sometimes circumstances change and the opportunity misses. This one from go ahead, Beck.
Just real quick on that, wasn't that Deion Sanders' argument with Shedeur and Travis?
Yeah,
like,
I think
why wait 40 years to do this? Let them enjoy it now.
Let's get him to do it now. This one from Ben. Subject, OKC conversation yesterday. Hey, Bo, love the show and the day-to-day hijinks. I was listening to the conversation about Oklahoma City versus Seattle you were having yesterday and was feeling defensive about smaller markets. There are probably sports talk radio people in Toronto having the conversation about why would an NHL team be in Columbus rather than X big city. I get there's a difference between forming a team in a city and moving from one to a bigger metropolitan area to a smaller one. I just want us to be careful not to give leagues any ideas. I know that Gary Bettman listens to your program, and I don't want him getting any ideas about my beloved Blue Jackets. Keep up the good work and enjoy your flight from Baltimore to Ohio. Thank you for the last line, especially. That'll be great. Your Blue Jackets don't have anything to worry about. You don't have anything to You're safe. You're safe, pal. By the way, did you guys know that when Jake told that story about the OKC finishing second?
I had no idea that
the Thunder
OKC was in the running for an NHL expansion.
Like I said yesterday, I think I after he said that, I kind of remember that, but it was nothing that was going to ever be top of mind with me.
No. Real quick from Matt. And we mentioned this in the Sports Emmys. Former OSU grad wins Sports Emmy for Broken Horses. A childhood friend of his won a Sports Emmy for Broken Horses, considering in the midst of the Triple Crown might be something to note. And did. Yeah, I want to say it was on Hulu. So I will be checking that out for sure. Finally, from TK, subject is pet peeve. Bo, when saying dates, there is no and in a number. It's 2012, not 2012. You're smarter than that. Did I say 2012? If I said it, TK, what my hunch is I did it was I was stalling as I was looking for something up as I was talking. That's my guess.
I've never heard that rule before.
I've never heard, and I don't know that have you guys ever heard me say 2012, or don't I just say 2012?
I've never paid attention. I don't know. It's also it's
clearly
it's also 100 and not 100, but everybody says 100.
That's true. They do. They absolutely do. Will Howard on his chances in Pittsburgh and the thought of playing with Aaron Rodgers and for Mike Tomlin. That's coming up next. Paul Finebaum in 17 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Wake up with the Fan. Eat lunch with the Fan. Go to bed with the Fan. Dream about the Fan. Then change your sheets. Gross.
Ew, you guys are gross, but stick around in case I don't find anyone else.
The Fan.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here. Spring weather has arrived, and we all know what that brings. Warmer weather and severe storms. Well, when bad weather hits, we all know it can cause leaky roofs or even damage to your siding and gutters. The Roofing Guys are your local experts in roofing, siding, and gutters and more, providing top quality through every roof, every time. So it's just a small repair, full replacement, or even peace of mind. You need to contact my guys, the Roofing Guys, 614-626-7000, or visit them at theroofingguys.com. That's theroofingguys.com.
At Kroger, we've lowered prices on over 1,000 items across our stores so you can save even more. Whether you're shopping in-store or online at Kroger, we've lowered prices on thousands of the items your family wants and needs. And with lower prices, your dollar goes further every time you shop with us. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
You can save big on 12 packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up. Select varieties or buy 2, get 3 free with your card. Limit 10. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
2 guys drove to work. Neither guy wore a seatbelt. One guy got a ticket. One guy didn't. The same 2 guys drove home. One guy wore a seatbelt. One guy didn't. One guy made it home. The guy not wearing his seatbelt didn't. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA.
Patients everywhere are experiencing joint pain relief thanks to QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. So how does this non-surgical approach work? QC Kinetics Medical Director Dr. Aaron Wolkoff explains.
Is like when you get a paper cut and the cells that come onto that scene first stop the bleeding, and then it recruits more cells to form new skin and new soft tissue. And then you look down a week later, 2 weeks later, and it's like nothing happened and that paper cut never existed.
In this same way, QC Kinetics uses your natural biologics to help repair and restore aching knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
We take those same similar cells in different areas that are arthritic, are painful, and we cause this kind of internal self-healing that can resolve patients' pain.
Relief without surgery. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
Call QC Kinetics, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544.
Everybody poops, everybody pees. Mommy, will you call Mr. Rooter, please?
'cause I gotta poop and I gotta pee. Only Mr. Rooter can clear the drain for me. Thank you, Mr. Rooter.
Hi, everybody. We call it what it is at Mr. Rooter. When you have a plumbing or drain problem, the team at Mr. Rooter is ready 7 days a week. Call us today and take advantage of our $95 drain cleaning special. Visit us at MrRooter.com. We'll be there quick.
Rothman and Ice.
Your front office has the ability to maneuver these numbers around. Cap space is a thing, but sometimes the way it looks on paper, it's not as concrete as it may seem.
Rothman and Ice. Weekdays at noon.
Sponsored by Pella Columbus.
The Fan.
Have you ever told a friend
Oh, I'm fine.
when you really felt
Just so overwhelmed.
or sent a text
Can't sleep. Are you awake?
when you couldn't find the words to say?
I'm scared to be alone with my thoughts right now.
Then this is your sign to reach out to the 988 Lifeline for 24/7 free confidential support. You don't have to hide how you feel. Text, call, or chat anytime.
And now, Public Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have contributed so much to politics, medicine, aviation, entertainment, and sports in the United States. This month, we celebrate these contributions, and we stand united in asking for what's right. Equal opportunity for every student, every educator, and every family.
Public Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Hey there, Central Ohio. I'm 10 Weather Impact Meteorologist Michael Behrens of your latest forecast. Keep an umbrella nearby for scattered showers throughout this afternoon. Those chances diminish tonight. It's going to be a struggle to make the upper 50s for highs today, with 40s expected overnight. Friday, high near 60, more sunshine, isolated afternoon shower possible. That's your latest 10 Weather Impact forecast. I'm meteorologist Michael Behrens on 97.1 The Fan.
1, 2, 3. Here at The Fan is always football o'clock. Proud to be your home of the Buckeyes, Browns, and all the NFL games you can handle. The Fan. Keep your friends close and your producers closer. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
And we are proudly sponsored by our great friends at Diamond Cellar, your true jeweler for over 78 years. We had the passing of NFL owner Jim Irsay overnight. The news kind of came out. You woke up to it this morning. Young, very young, mid-60s, 65 at the time of his passing. I don't have a whole lot of anecdotes, but the one thing that I can say is when you think about this from the perspective of his dad moved the Baltimore Colts to Indianapolis, kind of in the middle of the night, quite literally, with the Mayflower trucks and all of that. And they went to Indianapolis, and they had a dome to play in. It was the RCA Dome, as it was, the Hoosier Dome in the beginning, and then the RCA Dome. And it was a situation where they landed Peyton Manning. And by landing Peyton Manning, by bringing the Colts to Indy and being in position to draft Peyton Manning, they transformed a city. They took Indy from, decent-sized Midwest town with the Indianapolis 500, one of the greatest spectacles in all of racing, in all of sport, and a month-long event that culminates this weekend, and they turned it into one of the more important cities in this country. The Hoosier Dome was a part of that, a lot of Final Fours that came with that, and then obviously with Lucas Oil now, they can do anything, and they do it very well. I've been to Super Bowls there. They crush it. Big Ten championship games, they crush it. And a lot of that has to do with it. And if you think about Irsay's legacy, a couple of things come to mind. Obviously, the Colts and what he did for downtown Indy, along with Peyton Manning, with the success and all of it, that's a huge part of it. Another part of it is he was the one owner who said, he was the first owner to stand out, to say out loud, Dan Snyder needs to go. Like, this is bad, dude. That guy's gots to go. And others followed, and Snyder did go. So that's another thing that I think is a big part of his legacy. I think probably the most important part of his legacy is the work that he did for mental health, which is extraordinary amount of attention that he gave to mental health and the workarounds and the work throughs that, I should say. The other thing I would say from a legacy standpoint is anyone who has kids in youth sports that does travel, when you go north of Carmel, Indiana, and you go out to the facility that they built out there, and you say it's where their practice facility is, it's where their training camp is, and you see the endless fields of perfectly manicured grass that kids can play on, and you say, well, that's a pretty good job too. So obviously some complications in life with some substances and so forth and so on in terms of some of the abuse of that. But in terms of what was accomplished, a man of big time significance. And if you think about a legacy in the Midwest, his is pretty damn strong.
Yeah, it's always a thing when someone does pass and you just see the outpouring of support and the outpouring of support for his family, and then the outpouring of people that, that don't usually take time out of their day to acknowledge much. They're not on social media. They're just not active in a public space. They come out in a public space and they say, this man meant a lot for us. This man meant a lot for my legacy. This man meant a lot for the community. And you saw a lot of that yesterday with Jim Irsay and just the tributes that poured out from everybody you can think of that matters at all in the NFL for a guy that, like you said, died just way too early, 65.
And, Bo, you mentioned some of the unfortunate things with Jim Irsay. I feel like a lot of times the good that he did got overshadowed by the few instances of bad there. And that's unfortunate because, as you said, he did a lot of good in the Dan Snyder stuff and all of that. So a little unfortunate that those things did overshadow a lot of the good he did, but I'm glad that people are talking about the good that he did now in his passing.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. So I was curious if there is an ownership. He's got 3 daughters. Does he have 3 daughters that are in ownership?
Yeah, they're all a part of the team. Like, one of them does a lot of the marketing and stuff. One of them stepped in when he was out for a while, and they said her name is Callie something Irsay.
Yeah, there's a Carly Irsay.
Or Carly.
Carly. Then Casey Foyt is married to AJ Foyt the fourth. And then Kaylin Jackson. So there's it's 3 daughters kind of in the ownership structure.
So Foyt's the one that does a lot of the marketing and stuff like that, and Carly is the one that they think is going to take over kind of the day-to-day operations.
Yeah, CBS Sports says that one daughter will hold the principal owner vote, but that position is not fixed and could rotate. Irsay had previously indicated his daughters are on equal footing and will continue to be involved in the team's operations, to Baker's point.
Yeah, you would never want to sell that in any way. Like, it's such an incredible thing. But yeah, the stuff that he did for mental health and then to stand up to Snyder's probably the thing you're going to remember most. And I think what he did for downtown Indy. I mean, like, yes, they had Manning, but they got that building built. And by building Lucas Oil, that is a massive modern city that can host anything and do it very, very well. So I think all of that stuff kind of is on the legacy. I mean, he's got the Super Bowl championship as well with Manning. So there's a lot of good in there when it comes to it. In terms of in Will Howard, and one of the things of paying off the tease here is he was on Up and Adams, the Kay Adams show I believe that's on FanDuel, and had some comments about where he's at early on. Obviously, we're through rookie minicamp. Adams asked him about let's start with, because one of the big factors of this was the Big Ben conversation. So let's maybe start there in terms of Will Howard and getting to know Ben Roethlisberger and potentially the guidance he could provide.
He's been really good. He's been super supportive of me through this whole process. And
so you talked to him before you became a Steeler?
No, I didn't talk to him before I became a Steeler, but throughout now being a Steeler, like getting to know him, he's been really helpful for me. Texted me, checking in last week, just been a really good mentor. I can see him being a really good mentor for me going forward, and he's been super nice to me. So,
all right, here is Will on what Pittsburgh needs from him.
They need a guy, like a gritty guy. Growing up for me, watching the Pittsburgh Steelers, Big Ben. And Big Ben was, he was that guy. He was Pittsburgh. He was the Steel City, the blue collar, the gritty guy. And I want to be that too. I want to bring that edge, that energy, and I think I did a pretty good job of it at Ohio State, and I like to kind of pride myself on that, and I'm going to try and bring it to the Steel City.
As of right now, he's competing with Mason Rudolph for the job. The man who will inevitably make that decision is Mike Tomlin. Here is Will Howard on Mike Tomlin and where that relationship is early on.
My first time meeting him was at the Combine. I had a formal interview with him, and I walked in, and He's like, damn, that's Mike Tomlin.
It's crazy.
My whole life, like he's like the longest tenured coach in the league, you know. And I walk in, and he just could not have been a more down to earth, genuine dude. And he's been like that ever since. You know, I've never had an interaction where he's acted different. Like he's the same guy every time you meet him. True players coach. Just wants what's best for you, and he's gonna push you, but out of love and in a good way.
Of course, there's one thing hanging over the Pittsburgh quarterback situation, and that is Aaron Rodgers. Here is Will on Up and Adams on the idea of Rodgers coming to Pittsburgh.
You know, I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? You know, that's all over my head. But, you know, I'd love to be in a room and learn from him. You know, again, who knows what's going to happen? I have no idea. That's above my head.
Do you think that Will Howard could be the long-term answer for Pittsburgh at quarterback?
Yeah.
I think he could because of what he talked about and what Pittsburgh needs from him. And the two Pittsburgh quarterbacks that we know the most are Big Ben and Terry Bradshaw. Other than the huge monster arm, gosh, he's got so many similarities to those two.
If they can build around him.
Yeah, I'm always gun shy with Buckeye quarterbacks after Haskins because of the system they play in and the talent that they play with. But the one thing that I cannot ever shake with Will is how he played against the very best. And in the 4 games that mattered most, he was the best quarterback on the field against Nico Amalieva, against Dylan Gabriel, inevitably against Riley Leonard, and against Quinn Ewers. He was the best one in every one of those games. So it's hard to imagine betting. It just seems really crazy to bet against him doing it. Ideally, I'm sure from their perspective, it would be Rodgers for a year, and then potentially Will's the guy. And you know, he's a late round pick, so it's a hell of a lottery ticket if somehow he can be that. Paul Finebaum coming up in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on the Fan.
There's a new way to surround yourself with savings at Giant Eagle and Market District. Shop Giant Eagle's uncompromising quality at a reliable price with everyday savings. Look for signs throughout the store to find bargains on produce, meat, and more. Visit Giant Eagle to see how easy it is to save.
Common Man here for Jermaine Lexus of Dublin and Easton. A lot of dealerships not stocking much inventory right now because of reasons. But at Jermaine Lexus, they have new inventory arriving every day. Get what you want when you want it. Lease the all-new NX350 for as low as $389 per month. How about rates as low as 3.99% up to 48 months and 4.49% up to 60 months on their most popular models? Jermaine Lexus, 2 locations to serve you, Dublin and Easton. Check them out online, JermaineLexus.com.
Get your air conditioner fixed fast. Call Care Heating and Cooling, 1-800-COOLING.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Bishop and Friends present college football's most polarizing figure.
Oh, fuck, man, listen to me. Hey, Paul, how you doing? Come on back to our show, Tim. The audience hates you.
This is ESPN's Paul Finebaum, sponsored by the Roofing Guys. For all your roofing, siding, and gutter needs, contact the Roofing Guys at theroofingguys.com.
And joining as he does every Thursday at 10:30, our great friend Paul Finebaum, ESPN, on the Brian Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Passive condolences for the loss of your legendary caller, Larry from Shelby. You addressed it on your show on Monday. Paul, when you think about the relationship, and your show is so unique for this, in terms of the relationship that you have with these callers who you hear these voices through a screen, did you ever in your life, like, you think of these relationships that you have and how special they become to your show? It's a crazy thing to wrap your head around.
Yeah, and Bo, we've lost a couple of people, as every show does, but what made this one so unique was when we broke the news at 6 p.m. on Monday night, we told the story. Everyone, he called the other day from the hospital on a ventilator. We went to two fairly well-known callers, and both people got about 30 seconds into the call, their voice cracked, and they said, "I can't go on." That struck me as much as anything that I've ever encountered. The two callers just simply couldn't even talk about it. And I don't think our show is unique, but it just happens to be a program where the callers are really often better known than anything else that goes on.
When did you decide to do that with your show?
Though it happened a long time ago when we first got going. Really, we started local, then we broadened. And you can understand, even though you're in a very big market, but Birmingham at the time was not that big. We didn't have the A-list guests like the Cowherds and the Romes and the Greenbergs. So we decided we started inviting callers to the show. They sat around, they yelled, they screamed, they almost killed each other, and it just happened organically. And I think it was one of our producers who started festering it and inviting them to Christmas parties. And many people doubted it could happen or continue when we went to ESPN on the SEC network. But interestingly, I had to fight the suits, and I'm barely ahead right now. If the show gets canceled tomorrow, that means I'm not.
Well, what I'm curious about too, and it is such a part of the fabric of what your show is, and you see, I seek it out when there's something that's big. I go, I want to hear what you and what your callers have to say on those big days. What is the process to go from, like, do you have communication with your producers of, like, when a caller goes from being like a first time caller to like, oh yeah, that's a good one, let's keep that in the rotation? What is that process like?
Yeah, it's all about the process internally. When we went to ESPN Radio took the calls from Bristol. So the same guy doing Cowherd and Kornheiser at the time, and they had no patience. So what do you want? And they just could not deal with it. So we finally just started allowing our producers in our studio in the control room. They started talking to the callers. And there's tempestuous relationships, but we get to know these people, and I know I've tried to explain it for 20 years, but they feel it is somewhat. We just lost a guy from Cheers yesterday. It's like that. Everyone knows your name, and Bo, I've told you this before. I've got at least 10 or 15 callers who don't think the show would be on every day without them.
It's a remarkable thing, buddy, and it is a very unique space, and I think it's so cool that you fought for them when you went to ESPN, because it's such a fabric of what you do. I did want to ask you about a college sports commission. We're throwing stuff at the wall here, man. I know they're trying to get something to stick, but I saw the comments from the Tennessee athletic director. We haven't really heard from anybody up here on the matter, but is there real teeth to this? Is this the Hail Mary that college football needs?
I don't think so. And I missed you last week because I was traveling. I'm in the middle of moving. That's where I'm kind of hit and miss sometimes. But so Saban sat with me a week ago in Birmingham at a golf tournament and essentially said, we don't need a commission. And some of it was defensive, being, Nick Saban being Nick Saban, the fact that it had not officially been announced yet. But then he did it again this week at his own charity golf tournament. And that told me that he is trying to distance himself. And I don't think it's political. But in a nutshell, 3 weeks ago when all this happened, Tommy Tuberville flew down to Tuscaloosa for the commencement with Donald Trump. And I think when Trump met Saban, Tuberville said, hey, here's your guy. Trump, listen, I don't need to explain the president to anyone listening. He said, you're my guy, get it done. And then let's move on to Syria, and then Afghanistan, Russia, Ukraine, China, Pakistan, and I think Saban felt like I'm not saving college football, because you and I both know Nick Saban doesn't like what the other guy in the committee is, the Texas Tech booster, who's funneling tens of millions of dollars into the system. Saban wants to go back to the way it was 15 years ago. In his mind, it was a level playing field. Essentially, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, LSU, and Florida basically got every player, and they took turns winning national championships. He doesn't like the way it is right now.
No, and I that's the thing that's so frustrating about all of this is, I just took an email from a loyal listener who was talking about the Olympic sports, and he's like, I'm very fearful that these are going to go away. And Ross Bjork up here has a big decision, because they got 36 sports at Ohio State. Texas got 16, 17, something like that, and you're trying to compete on the same field. It just doesn't seem possible that you're going to be able to keep all of these things. They have some very difficult decisions. It seems like the SEC programs, at least, are better aligned in terms of you don't see these athletic departments that are as large as the one we have here in town.
No, Ohio State has the biggest problem of anyone in the country, because it doesn't pay lip service. It supports all these programs, but they will not exist in their current structure. It is impossible, and it's going to become like if you're operating the Columbus Mall Walmart, what sells best is out front. The rest of it gets buried, and that's what's going to happen to the programs that and by the way, Bo, football makes money. Basketball in some places makes money. I was in Columbia, South Carolina about a month ago. They have the best basketball program in the country. They lost about $5 million last year in women's basketball, and they sell out every game.
Wow. Man, that's. I would have thought that they would have been one of the. That's surprising. I know that a lot of people don't make it, but I thought that maybe that would be one that would.
They also pay the coach $8 million a year, and so anyway, there are a lot of reasons for that. Okay.
So yeah, well, there you go. That's when you do that. That's part of the reason that gets done. We're having some fun this week on the program with we're 25 years into the decade. We're having some lists that we have a little bit of fun with. From 2000 on, what is the best team that you saw?
I think there are two that stand out, and I vacillate, and I know somebody in the back row is going to say, "Here comes the SEC homer," but go ahead. I think the 2019 LSU team with former Buckeye quarterback Joe Burrow, and ironically, the 2020 team that nobody will ever give credit for. That Alabama team, of course, beat Ohio State in the national championship game during COVID. And I would have liked to have seen that in a legitimate schedule, but, I mean, just go back to the backfield. I believe there were 3 of the top 5 Heisman finalists in the backfield, including Devontae Smith. I mean, who really wasn't in the backfield, but you had the running back who's now in Pittsburgh. You had Mac Jones, who really wasn't that great of a quarterback, but at the time he was.
Yeah, Bryce Young was the backup on that team. They were certainly on the list that we had. I just real quick, and I'll get you out of here on this one on the LSU one. When did you realize that team was special?
It was early in the season. What was funny is I sat with Joe Burrow at media days, and I had just been on the set with a bunch of talking heads, football players, and they were ranking, top 1 through 14, the best quarterbacks in the SEC. And one guy had Joe Burrow ranked 3rd. And I think it was Jordan Rogers said, "Are you out of your mind? I mean, come on, that guy's not even the top." And I told Burrow that when he came on the show, we may have played it, I can't remember. Yeah. And he looked at me and he said, "That's absurd." I said, "Really?" He said, "I'm the best quarterback in the SEC." And that was the first time I started to take Joe Burrow seriously. I said, "Are you?" I mean, I didn't really know what to say because I didn't think he was among the top 5 or 6. I thought, 3 to 7. I mean, who knows? I mean, he hadn't done that much the previous year. And then game 1, 2, 3. I mean, it was just incredible to watch.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that's Joe. I mean, he was like that at Athens at Plains High School when he was 16 years old as well. Always appreciate the time, buddy. Good luck on the move. Thanks for giving us a little bit of it today.
Thank you very much, Bo.
All right, there he goes. Paul Finebaum, ESPN, and the SEC Network joining us on the Bryan Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. We'll do a little thing or not a thing up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
the only workplace in America to participate in the Doorknob Fart Game. And we also play office basketball and sometimes do radio. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Steel, walk behind, zero turn, and stand on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
Get ready to commemorate Memorial Day and enjoy great savings on everything you need with Buy 5, Save 5 deals at Meijer. Buy 5 or more and save $5 or more when you mix or match hundreds of items like Kraft shredded or chunk cheese, Meijer essential paper towels, and 24 packs of select Coca-Cola and Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable. The Buy 5, Save 5 deals at Meijer. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Summer's just around the corner. Are you ready to hit the road in style? At Germain Toyota, the adventure starts now with the 2025 Toyota Tundra. Rugged, reliable, and built to take on anything summer throws your way. Drive off in a new Tundra with 1.99 APR for 48 months. That's right, low financing, high performance, and a season full of possibilities. Hurry into Germain Toyota. Germain Toyota on the corner of I-70 and Bryce Road or online at germaintoyota.net. 1.99 APR for 48 months with approved credit. See dealer for details.
That's the sound of a Mountain Dew. And that's you enjoying its refreshing citrus kick. That's a cool breeze suddenly whistling through your hair.
Whoa!
That's you realizing you're now on a mountain.
This is epic!
That's you stating the obvious. That's you stepping up to the plate. That's you winning your kickball game.
Yes! Let's go!
That's you taking another sip of your...
Mountain Dew!
Do the do.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, you're the Carfax guy.
The Carfax from Carfax.
Wow.
And you, sir, work at Tire Discounters.
I sure do.
The Carfax top-rated service center.
Oh, right. You know, a lot of that's because of our services. But people think we're just about tires.
Maybe it's your name.
Yeah?
Tire Discounters. And your jingle.
Oh, you like it?
I think it needs something.
Yeah? Like what?
Hit it. Plus brakes, oil changes, shocks, and struts, and more. Now that speaks to me.
Hey, it's Anthony Rothman. From sold-out stadiums under Friday night lights to more than 100,000 screaming fans on the banks of the Olentangy. America's football capital is right here in Ohio. But the greatest football players and coaches of all time live up the road in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And a trip there should be on every football fan's list. Go to 971thefan.com/goldjacket and enter to win a VIP experience to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Ignite the passion. Relive the glory.
Join the Fan weeknights at 6 for the Buckeye Show. And if you're asking if it's just a bunch of homers rooting for all things Ohio State, yes it is. Proud to be your flagship home of the Buckeyes, the Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Hey, it's Bobby Carpenter. I know firsthand what it's like to battle through joint pain. After years of the hard hits and the wear and tear on the field, I thought pain, it was just going to be something I had to live with. Let me tell you, that's no longer the case thanks to QC Kinetics. For over 8 years, QC Kinetics has been leading the charge nationwide in non-surgical joint pain relief, helping over 50,000 patients get back to doing what they love, pain-free. Whether it's your knees, back, hips, shoulders, you pick it. If joint pain's been slowing you down, you need to hear about what Dr. Aaron Walkoff and his team in Columbus are doing. They're using cutting-edge regenerative medicine, natural biologic treatments with powerful healing properties to repair and restore damaged joint tissue. No surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. Just real results. The kind of treatment I wish I had access to during my playing days, and now you do. Imagine this summer playing around a golf, chasing the kids, and just enjoying a walk without the pain. Go to qckinetics.com/Columbus or call 380-228-4544. They now have offices in Grove City and Canal Winchester.
The Fan Poll is brought to you by Caster Connection. Visit CasterConnection.com to shop online or to work with our Caster Solution Specialists.
Taking the art of sports radio and day drinking to a whole new level. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, time for a little thing or not a thing on a Thursday. Hit it, fellas.
Thing or not a thing.
Sponsored by Billiards Plus. Find your next grill and everything you need for the master griller. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
The Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Cincinnati Reds on Wednesday to improve to 17-33 on the season. That's the fourth worst record in Major League Baseball. So, of course, trade Paul Skeens has become a popular source of scuttlebutt. John Heyman, whatever, the New York Post went to Twitter to dispel any notion of that. Quote, Pirate source, Paul Skeens is not getting traded. No chance, no way, no how is the way I heard it. Well, there's a bit of logic to such a scenario. Superstars just aren't traded by anyone with 1 year service time, and the Pirates remain determined to build around Paul Skeens. Thing or not a thing?
I mean, I would lean on you guys on this. So obviously they suck. They've sucked for a long, long time. They have a couple of little instances with McCutchen, and then they had the other one a couple of years ago with Garrett Cole. In terms of I guess from just a strictly baseball perspective, you would never trade somebody who's in year 2, who's this good, who's under team control. But big picture, if they're trying to build around him, they're never going to be a free agent destination. They are never going to pay anyone to come there. So my question would be, how's their farm system? So what I did is I pulled up Major League Baseball's top 25 farm systems.
Don't do that.
This ain't great. So the Tigers are number 1. Last I checked, they're leading the division.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be a problem in July when they call up a couple guys.
Tampa Bay Rays are number 2. They're always in the mix in the East, always have been. The Red Sox are 3. 4 somehow is the Dodgers. How in the hell can they have the 4th best system?
It makes no sense, right?
How's that even possible?
They've traded so many guys.
It doesn't matter. Seattle, then the White Sox. Brewers 7, Cubs 8, Guardians 9, Twins 10, Reds 11. I mean, how far do I got to go down this list before we hear the Pirates? 14th. So they're middle of the pack in terms of the system. I mean, what is even the get back for Skeens? The Red Sox whole system? If you send him to the Dodgers, what do they give you back? Here's everybody?
Whatever you want.
Well, if you believe reporting by Bob Nightingale, the owner, Bob Nutting of the Pirates, would just like cash considerations.
Sports diabolical.
And there's your answer why they're a joke. This is going to happen at some point, right? It's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't believe, because he is still under contract through 2030. He's not free agency eligible until 2030.
Yeah.
He's making less than $1 million this year.
Probably made more in NIL.
He had a $9.2 million signing bonus, but he's making $875,000 this year. He's not even arbitration eligible until 2027. But as you mentioned there's not a lot in the pipeline coming for the Pirates. They've called up a lot of their guys maybe earlier than they should have. And so they're dealing with it right now. They're not going to get any better. So maybe this happens in 2027. Maybe this happens in 2028. It ain't happening in the next couple years, though.
I mean, is the win here if there are Pirate fans? And who is? Isn't Cole a Pirates
Cole's
fan?
a Pirates guy.
Yeah. Don't you want Cuban to buy this team?
You want someone to.
Right? I mean, Cuban, he's always wanted to buy the Pirates. I want to say they're his hometown team. He's got the money from the Mavs sale now. Isn't that what you want? Because a Bob Nutting of Wheeling, West Virginia, proud owner of the Seven Springs Mountain Resort, doesn't seem like he's somebody who should.
The idea that Major League Baseball would band together to force an owner out, because that's the only way Nutting's selling that team, is if Major League Baseball forces the sale. And they're not doing that because the precedent that would set would mean bad news for owners like Oakland. Or I guess now Sacramento, sure. Or soon to be Las Vegas.
I believe ESPN just has it as the Athletics. That's it. Athletics.
That's a shame.
I don't even think people realize
that they're playing in a AAA facility out in Sacramento for the next 3 seasons.
That's
the Oakland Athletics.
Not only that there's 2.
Canseco, McGuire, Ricky Henderson.
2 for different reasons.
Very, very correct.
Reggie
but
Jackson. I mean,
Think of some of the Pirates.
It's different reason, but it's not totally different because you're talking about Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah.
Playing at Legends Field. It's different, but not totally different because they have tried to get a stadium in Tampa Bay for 30 years. 30 years. I remember talking about them trying to get a stadium in like 01, 02 in Tampa. They were trying to get out of that dome. That's 25 years ago. They've never been able to get it done. And they won't. They won't. But yeah, that's worse off than the A's situation is. I mean, it's just impossible.
Garrett Cole, Tyler Glasnow, Paul Skeens, some of the best pitchers, talent-wise, of this generation. The Pirates have had them and have done nothing with them.
No, and I think that they probably more than any team other than, I think the best example of the ballpark being the star is the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
It's Wrigley. That Wrigley, as big as the Cubs are, and Fish is going to drive off the road or throw himself through a window when I say this, as big as the Cubs are, and maybe he would even agree as a native Chicagoan, it's really Wrigley Field that's the star, and it was Wrigley Field, in my opinion, provided cover for the Cubs forever because it really didn't matter. You were just going to that experience. And I think the modern example of that is the Pirates. I think the stadium is so great that they almost get a pass for how incompetent they've been because they've been wildly incompetent.
Yeah, it's just the conversation that we had about the two teams playing in minor league stadiums, the conversation about the Pittsburgh Pirates and how Bob Nutting is just stashing cash that he makes from media rights deals and other things Pirates related. Just it does go to, I forget the commissioner that was referenced to you earlier, but Rob Manfred sucks and is a horrible steward for the sport of baseball. Great for the owners, horrible for baseball. So I say that because I understand Manfred is an employee of the owners.
How much does the current baseball spot land on Selig?
There's blame there. There's plenty, I think, but I just look at what Manfred's done in his tenure, and none of it's been helpful to actual baseball.
Fish agrees with me. So I thought
about Wrigley being bigger.
About Wrigley being bigger.
It's
than
the biggest
Cubs.
thing. Yeah.
All of these negatives we talked about with baseball, and let's play chicken with ESPN on our TV contract.
So that's what we'll get to next. The Wall Street Journal's reporting NBC's entered the bidding for the package of Sunday Night Baseball and Major League Baseball playoff games that were previously held by the worldwide leader. NBC's also got interest in the rights to the Home Run Derby. NBC's plan would be to air the games on their network plus Peacock. It would give them year-round sports programming to go with Sunday Night Football and the new NBA package that starts in October. The reporting states NBC is offering much less than the $550 million that ESPN was paying annually for the package, but mostly or partly because the network's not seeking the radio and international broadcast rights. ESPN's had Sunday Night Baseball since 1990. 2025 is going to be the final year of that coverage. NBC was one of the league's top broadcast partners from 1947 until 1989, has been the home of 37 different World Series. Thing or not a thing? So the 89 thing would be Selig, right? In terms of them coming off of NBC.
Okay, real quick. The Pittsburgh Pirates last won 100 games in 1909. That's the last time they won 100 games. They have 6 postseason appearances since they last won the World Series in 1979. 3 of those in a row were the NLCS when they lost in 6 games, 7 games, 7 games in the late 80s, early 90s with Bonds and all those. And then they have the 3 appearances, 13, 14, 15, where they got to the wild card and lost. They did get to the NLDS and lost 3-2. So, yeah, that's a stunning level of incompetence, truly. All right, as for this business deal, so here's the thing about this that I think is interesting is, to Bake's point, they played chicken with ESPN and lost. And now NBC is trying to swoop in. So NBC's plan is, I think, a pretty smart one. NBC is, we'll see if it pays off, but what NBC is trying to do is, or what they believe is, that sports is the last thing that you will pay and subscribe to watch. And so they're betting on the NBA. Resurrection of the NBA. They're betting on Big Ten football. They're betting on Sunday Night Football, the events like the Kentucky Derby and the Olympics and these type of things, and then they're going to use it on their app. And I do think that there is you're never going to have the days when a regular season Major League Baseball game drew 10 million people. Like, that's done. But I do think you can consistently draw a decent number, and the people who are watching are people who will pay for apps. So I think since you can't be on ESPN anymore, I do think that this NBC path for them is probably the next best thing.
Yeah, and this is NBC saying, guess what? Sports will get us more ratings than the newest rendition of Law and Order.
And it's cheaper, Bake.
And as you mentioned, what has NBC been pushing for a while now? Peacock. Yeah. You can throw MLB games on Peacock all you want.
Absolutely you can. Yeah, there's no question. That'll be a fascinating thing to watch. This will be a fun one. We got a little final hour of the program. We kick it off with a little higher, lower. Top 25 college football coaches of the 2000s. We will get into that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Buckeye games have been airing on WBNS since before you were born and before your parents were born and before Abraham Lincoln was born. Trust me. Your home of the Buckeyes, The Fan.
Bands are us when dreams don't get in. Bands are us.
Right now, get $1,500 off a shower or tub replacement or $3,000 off a full bathroom remodel, plus low to no monthly payments. Call 380-225-BATH to schedule your free estimate or go to bathsareus.com. 380-225-BATH.
Bands are us when dreams don't get in. Bands are us.
Dealin' Days are back at Lindsay Honda. Lock in your deal in May. Save thousands on hundreds of new Hondas. Simply pick your new 2025 Honda and enjoy 0% for up to 60 months. Yes, 0% for up to 60 months on all new 2025 Hondas, including HRV, Pilot, and Ridgeline.
Cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Lindsay's got it, and you're gonna save.
See you, Lindsay Honda, during Dealin' Days. See lindsayhonda.com for details.
This Memorial Day, honor the season with big savings at Ohio Mulch. For a limited time, get 5 bags of mulch or soil for just $10.95. Perfect for making your yard look the best for summer gatherings. And here's a star-spangled bonus. Save $40 on home delivery when you order now. Celebrate Memorial Day and beautify your home with help from Ohio Mulch. Visit ohiomulch.com or stop by your local store today.
Ohio Mulch, landscape supply, cleaner, greener, better.
Thinking about buying your first home? Now, with Third Federal, you can buy your first home and pay no PMI. Hi, I'm Mark Stefanski, Chairman and CEO of Third Federal. Private mortgage insurance, or PMI, can cost thousands of dollars over the life of your loan. And you may not realize PMI doesn't protect you. It only protects the lender in case of default. But at Third Federal, you can buy a home with just 5% down and no PMI. Plus, first-time home buyers get $750 off a closing cost. So if you're thinking about buying your first home, go for it and visit thirdfederal.com.
Even before you find a home, lock in 6.625%, APR 6.685% on a 30-year fixed-rate purchase mortgage. Visit thirdfederal.com or call 1-800-3RD-FED today. APR reflects 15% down for $350,000 loan amount. Rate requires automatic payment program and is subject to change. Restrictions apply. See conditions for closing cost coupon at thirdfederal.com/FTHB. Equal housing lender.
Care Heating and Cooling. When you need a company you can trust. Call 1-800-COOLING.
Spring showers revealing roofing or siding issues? Trust the pros at Newman Roofing for expert care, white glove service, and quality you can count on. Schedule your estimate today and take advantage of special financing options. Call 614-NEW-ROOF or visit newmanroofing.com today.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
This just in, the NFL schedule has dropped
And you know what that means. It's go time. Adam Schefter here with the Insider Tip. If you're trying to catch your team live this season, Vivid Seats is the move. For the best selection of games and seats, it's time to snap your tickets up now. Vivid Seats has great deals on great seats and the only rewards program in the game. It's no wonder they're the official ticketing partner of ESPN. So don't wait. Head to vividseats.com or download the app and lock in those game days.
The playoffs are in full swing, and you can get in on all the action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Go from tracking the latest game-changing moments to placing bets in just a few taps. Right now, new customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code JOEQ. That's JOEQ to get started today. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Offer not available in New York.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. We've got day baseball in the capital city. The Columbus Clippers host the Iowa Cubs Thursday at 12:05. Clippers are on a 4-game winning streak and bashed the Cubs 14-5 on Wednesday. In the majors, the Reds have Thursday off. Cincinnati dropped 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh earlier this week. They'll host the Chicago Cubs on Friday. As for the Guardians, Cleveland ended a 5-game losing streak yesterday, beating the Twins 5-1. Guardians begin a 4-game series in Detroit versus the AL Central leading Tigers tonight at 6:40. In the NBA, the Thunder host the Timberwolves tonight at 8:30 in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. OKC leads the best-of-7 series 1-0. The T-Wolves will host Game 3 on Saturday. This update sponsored by Dr. Mark Levy. If you're snoring and not sleeping, call Dr. Mark Levy's office at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP, or online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. Breaking sports news when it happens on The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
The perfect show for quarter zips and khaki shorts. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, final hour on a Thursday. We kick it off, as we always do, with a little higher or lower. Hit it, fellas.
Bishop and Friends present Higher or Lower.
Sponsored by the Waterworks. Call the Waterworks and Header Heating and Cooling today at 614-232-2222 or visit online at thewaterworks.com.
These geniuses at The Athletic keep cranking out,
God bless them,
quarter-century college football content that we seem to not be able to get enough of. Today's higher or lower comes to us from Chris Vanini, who pens college football's top 25 coaches of the 21st century, from Nick Saban to Ryan Day to Chip Kelly. Before we do this, I am going to raise one concern I have with Vanini and his top 25.
Okay.
In his honorable mention section, he's got Frank Solich, who I agree, if he's not one of the top 25, he's at least deserving of mention. Because you've got a locker room in Nebraska named after him. You've got a field in Athens named after him. So Frank Solich, absolutely one of the most important football coaches of the last 25 years. But in that honorable mention category, you also have Art Briles. You also have Joe Paterno. You also have Bobby Petrino. Well,
so how can you okay. How could you have Petrino and not Bowden? I'm sorry, Paterno and not Bowden.
You do have Bobby Bowden there. You want me to read the honorable mention list?
Yeah, give me the list.
Okay, you got Mike Gundy, David Shaw, Rich Rodriguez, Brett Bielema, Ed Orgeron, Art Briles, Spurrier, Ken Niumatalolo, Jeff Munkin, Bobby Bowden, Joe Pa, Bobby Petrino, Gary Pinkel, Troy Calhoun, and then Frank Solich. I just don't like that he's mentioned with them, because they're
there's some
awful.
Nefarious characters in there.
Frank is wonderful.
With Briles, Petrino. I mean, Petrino's. I'm not minimizing it, but it's infidelity. There's nothing else beyond that, right? It's just infidelity, and he's kind of a bad dude, kind of a jerk of a guy. Paterno's so tricky. Spurrier is an interesting one because his heights were at Florida in the 90s, but early 2000s Spurrier, Florida was still pretty dang good, and then he went and won the SEC East at South Carolina. which is crazy that happened too. So he's a tricky one on that list. You're right on Solich. I probably just would have just not mentioned Art Briles. Probably doesn't need to be anywhere on anything.
Guys, maybe this is a bad job out of me, but I had no clue who Troy Calhoun was until this morning. Like, I don't know how that guy can be on the honorable mention list if I don't know who he is. Like I said, maybe it's a bad job out of me.
He's
but
Air Force, wasn't he?
Yeah, Air Force for, I think, 20 years.
Ken Niumatalolo at Navy is hard. It's hard to do that with him because of, I mean, the dominance that he had over Army until he didn't was really something. And that rivalry is so special, and his run was so good. And then the guy who kind of unseated him was Munkin, who was his assistant at Navy, and then he's been unbelievable at Army, at West Point, get him ranked in the top 25. So those are a little tricky, but I'll tell you, Bielema probably deserves to be in this top 25. I mean, based on what he's done. I mean, I'm not sure that Bielema didn't have a bigger 2020s than, or 2000s rather, than Bill Snyder, for example.
Let's go into Vanini's top 25. Do you want to start at 1, or do we want to go lower to higher?
You could start at the bottom.
All right. So at 25 on this list, again, of the last 25 years, he's got Mike Leach, who had stops at Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State. Higher or lower for Leach at 25?
I think Mike Leach, there'll never be another like him. Not just because he was really funny and all of the stuff that he would say, and that stuff was incredible, but the guy was just quite honestly a genius. He won big at Texas Tech before NIL, Washington State, and Mississippi State. I think those are the three. I think if you were doing like toughest job in the Big 12 before NIL, Texas Tech is way up there in the traditional old Big 12. If you did toughest job in the Pac-12, you would say Washington State is the toughest job in the Big 12. It's Washington State and Oregon State. They're both outposts. It's tough. You would say the toughest job in the SEC, a lot of people would say Mississippi State. And he won at all of them. So, like, on just pure great coaching acumen, I would go higher for Leach because I think he's a genius.
I want to say higher as well, but I don't know if this is my like for him as a human, but he wanted some very hard places. And, like, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know if his run... Oh, so, like, if I had a game to win tomorrow, I think I'm picking Mike Leach over James Franklin.
Yes, you are.
So
and
I
we never got to see him coach at a place like that.
No, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
you would have thought at some point. Only 7 seasons, though, over 9 wins. And like we said, I know those are some hard places.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be a little higher, though.
All right, at 24 on this list, you have Chip Kelly, 23, Bill Snyder, 22, Kirk Ferentz, 21, Mark D'Antonio, 20, Lincoln Riley, 19, Kyle Whittingham, 18, Mark Richt, 17, Les Miles.
Oh my
higher or lower for Les at 17? And I paused at 17 on for a reason.
I see what's coming. Miles is tricky. 2 national titles? No, one. 1 national title at LSU. He won a lot at Oklahoma State, then won a lot at LSU. I think LSU folks always kind of judged him against Saban, so it was just so hard for him to ever, even if he won a national title. His 1 national title happens on a 2-loss team. And so that was, the team we lost to in the Sugar Bowl. I think he's probably appropriate. I can't have Mark Richt over him. I think Kyle Whittingham had just an unbelievable run at Utah, and it feels like maybe he should go a little higher. But then it gets, just think about that. It's interesting. Like Lincoln Riley and Chip Kelly have a lot in common in terms of this brief brilliance at Oregon and at Oklahoma that's short, but then it goes to such a high level. And then Chip went to UCLA, and it worked sort of worked, and then he came here and got back to the league. But Lincoln at 20 is pretty wild because it hasn't gone well at USC, but his Oklahoma run is something that obviously got him that job and got him to pick between LSU and USC, and he took USC. So I think him and Chip are pretty similar. I think this is probably pretty close. It's really hard because you're comparing somebody like Chip Kelly to like Kirk Ferentz. And how do you do that? Like, Ferentz played in 2 Big Ten championships in 25 years. But I'm always of the opinion of Iowa, like, if he's not there, is that program even relevant at all? So that's why this is such a difficult job. Like, I think both Kelly and Riley are better than Ferentz, but I also don't know if either one of them could win at Iowa the way he has.
So I think the Mark Richt and Les Miles thing is pretty close with them right there. Like, I feel like I have fonder memories of Mark Richt and what he did at Georgia, but LSU won a national title with Les Miles. Maybe the comparison with Les Miles is a guy who's a little higher up on this, and that's Jimbo Fisher. And I think Jimbo Fisher was a pretty good coordinator, but as a head coach, I don't think he was that great. I think Les Miles was a little better. I think Les Miles is pretty close here, but I would think Les Miles would be ahead of Jimbo Fisher.
All right, real quick. James Franklin's at 16.
Yeah.
Gary Patterson's at 15. Frank Beamer at 14. At 13, Jimbo Fisher. At 12, Brian Kelly. At 11, Ryan Day. Higher or lower for the Day man at 11?
He's definitely above all of the folks you just mentioned there. I don't think it's particularly close with any of them. I think he's higher than all of them. So then you start to get in that Chris Peterson, Mac Brown are the guys that follow. Where should he fall on this list? There are, folks, 3 Buckeye coaches on this list. We will tell you where they are, and we'll do our top 5 juxtaposed to Chris Vanini's and let you know where we think Ryan Day ought to sit on this thing. We will do all of that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
We have so many local shows, I can't fit them in a 10-second promo. So let's just say we're live and local all damn day. The Fan.
Going up. Prices keep going up these days. It feels like being on an elevator that only goes up. Going up. But not at Metro. We're pushing the down button. Going down. We've lowered prices. Get one line of 5G data for $40, period. That's 20% lower. And you get a free Samsung 5G phone when you bring your number. Only at Metro.
5-year guarantee on eligible plans. Exclusions apply. See website for details. Not available at Metro with T-Mobile in the past 6 months. Tax applies.
Introducing Ice Cream Quakes from UDF. Big chunks of your favorite candies and cookies blended with real UDF ice cream. Made the way you want. Real creamy, real chunky, real. Ice Cream Quakes. New from United Dairy Farmers.
At Valvoline Instant Oil Change, we're here to help keep you on the road so you can soak up all the summer fun. The road tunes.
Take me out to the ball game.
Hotel pools. Emergency ice cream stops. The sunscreen and bug spray everywhere.
It's in my eyes!
At Valvoline Instant Oil Change, we're here for it all. So stop in for a quick oil change before you go. Only takes about 15 minutes. No appointment needed.
It's been a great run. Care Heating and Cooling has achieved goals I could only imagine 30 years ago. But now it's time for the next generation to take over. This is Mike Weens, now the retired founder of Care Heating and Cooling with my sons, Dennis and Ryan.
Dad, as Care grew over the years, you had many opportunities to sell Care to one of the big conglomerates that are buying companies all over Central Ohio. So tell our customers why you decided to keep Care in the family.
After talking about Care's values for over 30 years, I couldn't bear the thought of Care becoming the kind of company I was warning our customers about. I know the two of you will continue to treat our customers as I would, with honesty and integrity.
We will, Dad. In 2024, Care was awarded a BBB Torch Award for Ethics and was named the Lennox Partner of the Year. You don't earn those awards by leaving cat toys behind.
Call Care Heating and Cooling at 1-800-COOLING or schedule an appointment online at careheatingandcooling.com. When you need a company you can trust.
Common Man and Bob Capace here for Worthington Jewelers. Bob, you know what I love the most about you?
That I pay you to do these commercials?
That and the way you treat your customers.
All right, listen. I will hook you up in our warm, inviting environment. You will be greeted by our top sales professionals that are non-commissioned, but will help guide you through the entire process.
You're my guy, Bob. Worthington Jewelers on High Street in Worthington, worthingtonjewelers.com. Tell them Bob Capace sent you.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Don't let bad feet stop you from being active and getting healthy this year. Trade in your bad feet for good feet at the Good Feet store.
The Fan at 1460 ESPN Columbus is your radio home for Sunday Night Baseball.
Sponsored by The Waterworks. Call The Waterworks and Header Heating and Cooling today at 614-232-2222.
The Fan.
And now, Public Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have contributed so much to politics, medicine, aviation, entertainment, and sports in the United States. This month, we celebrate these contributions, and we stand united in asking for what's right. Equal opportunity for every student, every educator, and every family.
Public Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty. Do you want to sell your property, however, you need a little help getting through the process? Let's say you have years of belongings in the home. It needs a lot of updating, you're overwhelmed, and you may need help finding a place to go. I will help you. Visit us today at TurboTrackRealty.com or call me now for an all-cash offer and, more importantly, the help you need at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Scattered shower chances continue through the afternoon. It is going to be a struggle for the upper 50s for highs today. Temperatures will drop to the 40s tonight as rain shower chances diminish. Could see a stray shower Friday, but mostly dry, more sunshine in the high near 60. Warming up, drying out this weekend. That's your latest 10 weather impact forecast. I'm meteorologist Michael Behrens on 97.1 The Fan.
All the Ohio State conversation you can handle. The Buckeye Show.
Weeknights at 6.
Your Ohio State flagship station. The Fan. They'll offer betting advice, but don't bet on it being good. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, Reese. So we have Ryan Day came in number 11 on this list. I think he should be higher, slightly higher than that. Now, I think that the problem that the pushback that you're going to get from some folks is going to be, yeah, but did he win at multiple places? So as we kind of go into this and have a more discussion on this list, Ryan comes in at number 11. Then they have Chris Peterson at number 10 on this list for the winning at Boise State and Washington. And he won at both places at a really high level. He had 2 undefeated seasons, multiple BCSs, and a college football playoff appearance, obviously, at Washington. And then you start getting into the guys who win natties. So Mac Brown is number 9. Jim Harbaugh is 8. Jim Tressel is 7. Bob Stoops is 6. 3 of the guys I mentioned, Day, Tress, and Stoops, only coached at the massive program. Bob Stoops went from defensive coordinator at Florida to head coach at Oklahoma, won a natty in year 2, and then had 10 Big 12 championships, 4 BCS title game appearances, 7 top 5s, 2 Heisman winners, had this incredible run at Oklahoma. So I think Stoops is, you remember the end at Oklahoma, and I think sometimes you forget the length of it. So I think Stoops is fine at 6. Tress at 7, I'm good with as well. The question becomes, and this is brutal, but it's Ryan Day, Mac Brown, or Jim Harbaugh. So Harbaugh wins if you can. It's hard, but
he's not a top 10 on this, in my opinion.
Hold on now. Let's say this: he took Stanford. This is true. He took Stanford from 1-11. He was at Stanford too in before. That's the thing. We got. There's also the 2. I'm with you. You got the NCAA stuff and all of it, but he took Stanford to respectability and a 12-1. I mean, he had Andrew Luck at Stanford. Then he went to the league. Then he came back at Michigan, and he's got this, tainted title at Michigan. But he's a tricky one to kind of sort out. Mac won at both Texas and North Carolina, and including a national championship at Texas.
I will just say with Harbaugh, he's not top 10. Is he deserved to be on this list? Absolutely. But I would have him behind Mac Brown. I would have him behind Ryan Day. I would have him maybe around where Brian Kelly is. But he has the national championship, so he gets over Brian Kelly on that one. Brian Kelly has a title game appearance.
So you'd have him as the lowest ranked national champion.
He would, in my opinion, be the lowest ranked of the guys to win national championships.
Behind Jimbo? Because right now Jimbo is behind Brian Kelly, even though Jimbo won one.
Harbaugh's better than Jimbo.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the Harbaugh, Ryan Day, for the course of time is a very interesting argument because Ryan has had, what now, was 7 really great seasons here at Ohio State.
6 top 10s in 6 seasons, 70 and 10.
And Harbaugh got the national championship, too. And what Harbaugh did at Stanford and San Diego State, I don't think should be overlooked. And listen, San Diego, he couldn't beat Urban, but he's kind of whooped up on Ryan Day. I know there's the cheating, the Connor Stallion stuff out there. Yeah. And would that have changed things? Who knows? But that 23 team was pretty darn good that Harbaugh had. I think the Harbaugh-Ryan Day is fascinating and very interesting. Ryan's only done it here and for a short time. Harbaugh's done it other places for a longer time.
The thing that's also true, there's no question that Harbaugh gets dinged for the NCAA stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's there. I mean, you can't ignore it, and Chris doesn't ignore it in ranking Harbaugh. It's prominent in what he wrote about Harbaugh, having him at number 8. It's right in the middle of it. Harbaugh left town before the NCAA dropped penalties on him for rule violations, most notably the Connor Stallion sign stealing scandal. He took 2 different programs to top 4 finishes and won a national title, but every coach ahead of him here has at least 3 national title game appearances, while Harbaugh has 1.
And with Harbaugh and with everybody in 2020, it was dealing with COVID, dealing with the pandemic, shortened seasons, and there were a lot of coaches that made the best of it. He went 2-4. That's also on his record. And then you enter the Connor Stallion sign stealing stuff. Yeah, they won a national championship with an incredible football team, but that's why, for me, Jim Harbaugh is out of the top 10 in this category.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bacon, that he's ahead of Jimbo. I think Ryan. It's interesting how Ryan, Stoops, and Tress. I mean, Tress won at Youngstown State, but on the Division I level, they came into it right here, and Ryan and Bob came in straight from the assistant ranks to just Cadillac programs at Ohio State and Oklahoma. Ryan Day is going to go way up this list as it goes, and I would have him ahead of Chris Peterson. I would have him ahead of Mac Brown as well. We'll see. Mac was he's such a throwback. I mean, he was very much like a Bobby Bowden coach. He was a CEO. Kiss babies, shake hands, schmooze recruits at the end. I mean, he was a very throwback coach, like Bowden was. And he was an assistant under Bobby, so I think that probably makes sense. But Mac is a tough one to kind of wrap your head around because he's kind of the last, I think, of a dying breed. I don't know that they have coaches like that anymore.
So I personally would have Mac Brown higher because I think Texas is a tough place to win, and he, in my lifetime, has had the best. Texas, the program was humming the best with him there.
It's a really good point on
Vince Young and
he did
Chris Sims and Colt McCoy and all of them. I think he probably gets dinged a little bit for the way things have ended up here at North Carolina, but he probably should have got out of the game a little sooner. I just think what he did with Texas in the early 2000s to late, I guess the whole 2000s there, 2000 to 2010. Yeah. I think that's the best Texas has ever been in my lifetime.
He should have probably had 2 national titles. If Colt McCoy doesn't get hurt, he probably wins that one where they lost to Alabama. They went right down and were scored on the very first possession, and then Colt got hurt. He's kind of a tricky one. I do think so. They have Tressel at 7. I think that's the right spot for him. Him versus Stoops is kind of the eye of the beholder thing. Stoops' run is longer. Both had ultimate success really early. I think both had ultimate success in year 2, and then had a bunch of other bites at the apple. But I think those are, and I think the 5 at the top is right. They've got Dabo at number 5. They got Kirby Smart at number 4, Pete Carroll at number 3, Urban at number 2, and then Nick at number 1. On your guys' personal top 5, how many of those 5 would you have, and what would your order be?
So I've got all 3 the way Chris Vanini has them.
Top 3?
Yeah. Saban, Meyer, Carroll. Then I've got Kirby Smart, and then I've got Jim Tressel.
You got Tressel 5 and Kirby 4?
So I have Saban, Urban, Carroll. Then I have Dabo, and then I have Tress.
Nobody whines like Dabo, and that for me is just come on.
I have the 5: Saban, Urban, Carroll, Dabo, Kirby. You have to. It's hard. You have to understand what Clemson was before Dabo got there. And they were this, they honestly were mocked.
Clemsoning.
Yeah, they were mocked. It was not a serious program. They thought they were, and they thought they were entitled to some national championships because Danny Ford won one there back in the 80s, and so they thought that was their standard, and they have a credible amount of passion, but they really never got close to anything. I remember doing it was an Orange Bowl, the 13 season, and it was like, for Clemson, it was their Super Bowl. For Ohio State, it was like, God, we lost to Michigan State. We should be playing in the Rose Bowl right now for the national title against FSU. So I have a lot of respect for him in that. I think Kirby winning the ultimate prize at Georgia, his stint at Georgia is probably the closest so far that we've had to Saban in just the machine feel of it. Like, it feels like they just come in waves at Georgia, and one class follows another, and there are always one or two in the country. I think it's smart to put Pete Carroll at 3 because, much like your point about Texas, I think maybe we're realizing that the USC job is a lot harder than we give it credit for. We always put USC up there with Texas and, some of the great jobs in the country, true Cadillac job. I don't know that it is. But I would believe that perhaps it's not, because they've had a lot of really bright, brilliant coaches there who didn't win since Pete left. Obviously, Saban's won. I'm not silly enough to argue against that. But I will say that Urban, the difference between Saban and Urban is smaller than I think it is given credit for here. I think that they're very, very close. And I think you could make an argument because Urban won at 4 places. 4 different places. I mean, he won big at Bowling Green. He went undefeated at Utah. Then he won 2 national championships at Florida and then won a 3rd at Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State's a Cadillac of Cadillac programs. But the only people who've ever won at Florida are Spurrier and Urban. That's it. That's the list. He kind of set the Utah thing up for Whittingham pretty well. Again, I'm not arguing him over Saban. I just think it's very close between those two. And if you were to hire one of them, like at their prime, to me, it's a flip of a coin. Like, they come, if all of a sudden it's 2008 and you can hire Nick Saban or Urban Meyer and you're going to go hire them to be the head coach at Notre Dame, to me, they're interchangeable. I think both would win national championships right away in very, very short order. I just think they're both that good, and I think they're both so maniacal. I almost can't separate them.
Yeah, I wonder, with this list, I mean, it's a really good job out of Vanini, putting all of this together, like 25 years that you've got some, obviously, if you've won a national championship, you're in the top 15 of this. But then there's so many other coaches that have made so many other contributions. Like I think about, and someone, I think it was Cardinal 99 in the YouTube chat said, what about Luke Fickell? Like
not after what's happened
with Wisconsin, but the impact he's had on college football, I think it was at least maybe worth an honorable mention.
Well, here's the problem though. People have won at Cincinnati.
Kelly, Tuberville.
They talk about Kelly. Yep.
Well, Kelly before that, D'Antonio before that. There's a long list of folks who have won. Butch Jones won at Cincinnati. A lot of people won at Cincinnati. I mean, he took advantage of and he did a great job, and he took them to heights that others had not, getting them to a BCS game. But I think if he had gone to Wisconsin and it had gone better, it feels to me like he's on a legitimate hot seat there, right? I mean, this is
tough when they signed him to a 1-year extension awkwardly, but yeah, that 5.5 over-under for win totals for the Badgers this season doesn't give you a whole lot of confidence.
No, and he was coming in there and we're running spread and all of this, and they're like, well, that's not what Wisconsin is. So, yeah, that's one that bears monitoring for sure, because if he left a year earlier, he could have been the head coach at Oklahoma or LSU probably, maybe even USC. Who knows? We do have the answer for who's going to be on Hard Knocks. We will get you and let you know if we feel like NFL Films hit that out of the park. That's in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Matty Ice here. When I need a new Chevy, I head to McDaniel GM Superstore in Marion. Right now, get up to $11,000 off MSRP on a 25 Silverado 1500. They've got no market adjustments, no hidden costs, and sales managers are on the floor ready to help. That's been the McDaniel difference since 1916. They're just a short drive north off Route 23 in Marion, or you can visit McDanielGMSuperstore.com. McDaniel GM Superstore, where great deals meet a century of trust. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
We've discovered the perfect morning ritual, the 2 for $6 breakfast sandwich deal at Tim Hortons. Every sandwich is made to order with a freshly cracked egg and melty cheese, just the way breakfast should be. Choose between savory sausage or hickory smoked bacon, served on a toasted English muffin or flaky biscuit. There's no wrong way to mix and match this tasty deal. 2 breakfast sandwiches, just $6. Perfect. Only at your neighborhood Tim Hortons. At participating U.S. restaurants, single item at regular menu price. Modifications and tax extra. Exclusions and additional terms apply.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Sports conversation that's worthy of a toast, or at least a stiff drink. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
We always used to have that as kind of the, when AR and I were doing the show, we'd always have that as, how good of a job is it? Could Urban go there and win a national title? If the answer to that was yes, that was kind of like the threshold of being a good job or the potential to be a good job and then just being a bad job. Could Urban in his prime gone there and won a national title? So like Penn State's yes, Notre Dame's yes. Like there's a bunch of them that are yes. But like then there are several when you start going around, you say not even anyone could win there. And I think sometimes it's like the perfect coach at the perfect time. Like to me, that's Bill Snyder at Kansas State in 2 different tenures doing it. I think it's Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech. Like, I don't know if Virginia Tech will ever, I would bet anything that they never reach that level again. That was a moment in time with Enter Sandman and the Vic brothers and all of it. And I don't know that is ever going to be repeatable. That feels like a moment in time that will stand there and they'll never reach those standards again. There are so many places where is it the coach over the place? That's the other part of it is the coach bigger than the place. And I think Beamer's an example of that. Bill Snyder's an example of that at Kansas State. I know that it's not Dabo and Kirby at the top of the sport, and it's not Stoops at Oklahoma or any of the Ohio State guys on this list. None of those guys are in there. Boise State has proven that they could win. They won before Peterson. They've won after him. So there are some spots out there. But I think when you think about like Gary Patterson at TCU and the run he had, or you think of Frank Beamer and his run at Virginia Tech, those are kind of like only with that coach. TCU is going to be an interesting one because they got a lot of oil money. So will they be a team that continues to invest in that? Curious about a program like Utah when Kyle Whittingham eventually leaves. Like what type of fall off is there with that program? So I think Ferentz is probably the best example of that in the Big Ten. Like if they can't get Bielema from Illinois, how do they possibly go about replacing him and being a program that wins between 8 and 10 games year in and year out? So it's always a fascinating conversation. Hard Knocks announced the team that is on, and it will be the Buffalo Bills. So the Bills are the choice this year for Hard Knocks. I was surprised that they did this. I know that there's a list of teams that can't be used. And then there's a list of teams that can't be used, and there's a list of teams that can say no. There's also a list of teams that can't say no. My hunch is the Bills are on the list of teams that couldn't say no, because I don't think you would want this if you were Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane and that whole operation. I don't think that you would want any part of Hard Knocks being there. And I think it's the 2 most pressure-packed jobs in the NFL this year are the jobs in Baltimore and the job in Buffalo. I think those are the 2 where it's time to go.
I was reminded yesterday that Joey Bosa is a Buffalo Bill. And so I'm interested to see, like, when they interview him or they try to interview him, just like his deadpan, oh, hey. How's training camp going? It's pretty good.
That's about all you're going to
just deadpan that. Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I thought of when I heard the Buffalo Bills was, man, maybe Brandon Beane will be pretty great on this, thinking of him calling up the two radio hosts on Buffalo radio and like, hey, we don't need receivers now, huh? Brr, 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 brr.
You better have what's going to be key to this is what does Buffalo decide to give the folks at Hard Knocks? So when the Jets did it, you basically got Aaron Rodgers is what you got. You got behind-the-scenes Aaron Rodgers' first year in New York, and you went, this is awesome. You're getting access to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. It was basically about him. Wasn't much else they did. They did the draft picks, and then they did him. That was kind of it. When they were with the Browns in 2018, the Browns, and I think probably John Dorsey, used a great deal of subterfuge to have them following people that were never going to be in the mix to make the team. You did not hear from Baker Mayfield really at all, even though he's the number one overall pick in the draft. You didn't hear much from him at all other than going to get like a Winnebago for training camp. You didn't hear much from him at all. And so you had this kind of weird Hard Knocks where they were following Brogan Roback and Devin Kajus and I forget the defensive end from
Wiley.
Oh, Bob Wiley. They loved him. Seth Hutt. Yeah.
Push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks.
2 World Wars. 2 World Wars.
Stretch, yeah.
Push-ups and sit-ups. 2 World Wars. Yeah, it's great. Bob Wiley, by the way, his you would never
a Maserati.
You would never believe it based on looking at him. His car collection was nuts.
How did he fit in a Maserati?
Oh, it wasn't just he had that. I want to say he had a Ferrari. Yeah, like he had a crazy auto collection. And I think there was even something that he knows how to fly planes. That could have been in the mix too, that maybe he knows how to do that. But so much of Hard Knocks depends on ownership buy-in, team buy-in, and then what players. Like if you get to know Josh Allen cruising around Buffalo, that's something that I have interest in. If there's, they have some young stars on that team, there's a great deal of pressure on that team. I'll have interest in it. And the other thing about the Hard Knocks training camp edition, which is what they're calling it now, what's really cool and important about that is we're all hungry for football. That's why I think the off-season one maybe didn't hit as well as it did, and they're never going to do another one because of what happened on the off-season one with the Giants front office, where they basically botched the Danny Jones thing is about as big as you can and botched the top of the draft about as big as you can. But that one actually had more info. If you want to know like what goes into running an NFL team, because the offseason is so critical, go to HBO Max, if that's what that app is still called, and find the in-season Hard Knocks from the Giants from last offseason. That's all you need to know about what an offseason looks like in the NFL. But I think we're not hungry for it in that way, the way that we are with training camp. At training camp 1, we're hungry for it. We're ready for some football, and I think that's kind of why the in-season one, the AFC North was the in-season one last year. This year it'll be the NFC East, which in theory looks like a pretty strong group. I mean, obviously Cowboys, Giants, Commies, Eagles, that's about as good as it gets in terms of brands. But I also think like we're not kind of hungry for it. I had to force myself to watch it. And the 2 teams that we talk about, the 3 teams we talk about most were all involved. But I didn't find myself craving football content more that time of year, the way that I do in training camp.
Yeah, personally, I don't think the Bills are that interesting or interesting enough to warrant the Hard Knocks thing. Like, I wonder, to your point about John Dorsey when he was with the Browns and just had all of these, like, smoke screens up, if they do, like, fans, and they go interview, like, Bills super fans, or they go to the radio station and they interview some of, like, the radio show hosts, or they talk to the guys that had the spat with Brandon Beane on the air. Like, I think, the Commanders would be kind of fascinating. It would be interesting to see, I think, from an in-season perspective, what they do when they go over to Europe. Like how, like the inside look on how all of that is made and how all of that is done to a level where you get NFL players prepared to play games at different sites. But during the season, I think you're right on it. It's like, I've got enough football. I'm not going to seek you out.
Let's see who would have been the home run. They've done the Lions recently. They did the Bears last year. That was pretty good. You got to think about who's got a little bit of personality. You know what would have been good? It would have been Vrabes.
Yeah, New England.
Mm-hmm.
With Drake May. And Vrabes, like with his whole operation, kind of instilling all of that.
I think any of the NFC East teams would have been good for the training camp Hard Knocks. I mean, I know New York will never do it again, but if you had Philadelphia and kind of their quest to keep the tush push, or if you had the Commanders and Jaden Daniels and how he does in his sophomore campaign, like I think those are interesting. Dallas and acquiring George Pickens and what that looks like is an interesting storyline. So any of those three, I think, would have been better than Buffalo.
I think I don't know how the entertainment value would be, but I think just to see it with all the first-timers down in Jacksonville, I think would be fascinating. A first-time head coach, first-time offensive coordinator, first-time defensive coordinator, and you throw Travis Hunter into the mix. I think Jacksonville would be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, Jacksonville would be a very good one. I think Minnesota would be a very good one because they're ready-made. And is JJ good? Saw he got engaged yesterday. Baby on the way, announced that. But is he good? I think the J.J. McCarthy one would have been good. Atlanta would have been fun for me with all of their young talent and Penix. Yeah. Oh, Bob telling me that New England is doing their own thing. They're self-producing. A lot of them are doing that. And Bob would know. They do this with the Browns too. For the longest time, is like building the Browns, and they do like those off-season things. But for whatever reason, they don't seem to take off the way that a Hard Knocks can take off, in terms of more and more folks watching it. But a lot of those in-house productions are very, very good. New England, I mean, Vrabel would have been incredible. I don't know, have we ever seen the 49ers? Has Kyle Shanahan ever done this?
Do they come off as terribly interesting?
They are to me, just because I think Kyle's like kind of a genius. And they got Kittle. Like, they definitely have some personality on that team.
Yeah, they're not. I don't ever think of, like, even the Raiders. I don't ever think and be like, yeah, I'm interested in what they're doing in the offseason.
They might be good this year with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, though, there. And
yeah, with Geno and kind of that's what you're looking. And then really it just comes down to the access. It just comes down to access. Do you have a team that wants you there, that is going to be supportive of you being there? If the answer to that is yes, then you're going to get what we've had the last few years, where you have incredible participation from the teams. And if not, and you get, Dorsey, I'm pretty sure I think he kind of said, I think he misled. I don't think there's any question that he misled their production about who was going to be important with the Browns that year that the Browns were on it. I don't think there's any doubt.
Carl Nassib, by the way, that was the defensive end, right?
Yeah, remember he had that idea of if you save such a percent of your paycheck, you'll be a millionaire in 2 years. He had this whole algorithm about all of it. It was pretty good. So, but they talked to guys who were not guys who were going to be on the roster and had no chance to be on the roster. That's the tricky part. You need an NFL front office, to be honest with you. We'll do a little three things on a Thursday up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
A lot of hosts have been on our airways in the past 30 years. Some good, some bad, some really bad. Anyway, sorry for that. The Fan.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Introducing Ice Cream Quakes from UDF. Big chunks of your favorite candies and cookies blended with real hand-dipped UDF ice cream. We'll say that again. Real hand-dipped UDF ice cream. Pick your flavor, pick your mix-ins, or try one of our featured recipes. And get an ice cream quake made the way you want. Real creamy, real chunky, real. Ice Cream Quakes, new from United Dairy Farmers.
Summer's just around the corner. Are you ready to hit the road in style? At Germain Toyota, the adventure starts now with the 2025 Toyota Tundra. Rugged, reliable, and built to take on anything summer throws your way. Drive off in a new Tundra with 1.99 APR for 48 months. That's right, low financing, high performance, and a season full of possibilities. Hurry into Germain Toyota. Germain Toyota on the corner of I-70 and Bryce Road, or online at germaintoyota.net. 1.99 APR for 48 months with approved credit. See dealer for details.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could dump all your problems on someone else's back? Well, when you wake up to a clogged drain or a plumbing issue, make that Mr. Rooter's problem.
Call 855-MISTERS today or MrRooter.com.
Call Mr. Rooter, he'll be there quick.
Hey, it's Anthony. You know what the slogan is at the Good Feet store? Good feet, good life. Friends have asked me, how are my personally fit arch supports different from the inserts and insoles they can buy online or in department stores? There are big differences. My Good Feet arch supports are designed to provide me firm yet flexible function. What does that do? They actually help correct poor foot biomechanics, which leads to providing me long-term pain relief. I was also the guy who thought, well, if I buy good shoes, my feet won't hurt. It wasn't a bad thought. A lot of people think shoes are always the problem, when in reality, it's often the foot that goes into the shoe that's the real source of discomfort. When I got my personally fit Good Feet arch supports, my feet felt stabilized. The pain and discomfort went away. For more than 30 years, the Good Feet store has helped thousands of people just like me discover the comfort they've been dreaming of. They're on Stringtown Road in Grove City or Polaris Parkway. Learn more at goodfeet.com.
For over 78 years, our family's been part of your love stories. At Diamond Seller, we offer bigger diamonds, better prices, and timeless designs for every chapter of your life. From your first yes to your forever I do, trust the jeweler who knows diamonds best. Visit Diamond Seller today.
The standing room only, with all eyes on the 18th green.
That's a good-looking ball.
The sudden roars. That Sunday celebration.
Jack always made the putt at 18, and today Scotty Scheffler did.
Witness the Memorial Tournament presented by Workday, May 26th through June 1st. It's second to none. Visit memorialtickets.com today.
Wow, what a shot.
Good news. Jack has personally invited the fan to the Memorial Tournament, and we're broadcasting 30 hours of live content, and we'll try not to embarrass ourselves.
Sponsored by Ohio for Responsible Gambling. Visit pausebeforeyouplay.org.
This is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health, where our erectile dysfunction treatments are shown to be effective in nearly 90% of cases. Listen to what Alex has to say about our ED treatments.
I have been experiencing problems with ED, but that's all changed. My name's Alex, and I've been a patient for Tri-State Men's Health for under a year. I highly recommend this. Every day I wake up feeling good compared to I was back in the old days. It change is more exciting. You know, I don't have a problem with ED anymore. I'm having a lot more fun. I was very comfortable. I was always comfortable in any conversation I had with Tri-State Men's Health. Yeah, I just want to let gentlemen out there know that you do not have to live with ED, that it is not just an aging process. It is also hormonal and balance and everything in your system. And once you get that under control and everything, you do go back to your youth a lot in how you feel.
Thanks, Alex. It's true. If you're like most men, we'll help you get your sex life back. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Right Way Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
Drink recommendations, movie reviews, sports discussion, and whatever the hell Reeser does. This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, Reese, what are you on the poll today?
Daily Fan Poll sponsored by Caster Connection. It asks, with it being 100 days until Ohio State's scheduled to play the Texas Longhorns at Ohio Stadium, as of today, what's your confidence level in the Buckeyes winning that game? Your options are guaranteed Buckeye win, 50-50, or screwed, Texas wins. 73% of respondents say it's 50-50 at this point. 19% say
guaranteed. Win or lose.
Yeah, you can't do anything else. It's either the win or you take the L.
You either score more points than the other guys or you don't.
Just under 7% say we're screwed, Texas is going to win. But that's how they feel right now, Thursday, May 22nd.
Do you think I don't even think a loss in that game, there's no way for you to be screwed in any way. Like, it's a long season. You lost 2 games last year and won the national title. Like,
I think it means you're screwed, you're losing, right?
Yeah, I guess, but like there is no beyond that, and I don't. It's not going to have that weight to it.
Yeah, you take care of business the rest of the way, you're fine.
Even if you lose another one, as evidence of it.
The hope right now is, and again, 100 days out, you're not going to get embarrassed in it.
You're not going to get embarrassed. You're too damn good for that. Yeah. And the reality is that you very likely could win. And the other reality is you're judging Texas's greatness based off of about 3 games and a lot of hype around Arch Manning. And maybe he delivers on all of it. Who knows? His uncles did in impossible similar circumstances, but it's a lot to have them. And just like it's a lot on Julian Sand or Lincoln Keenholz, whoever wins that job. So that's what I think makes that opener so fun is what we don't know. And quite honestly, what we don't know at the quarterback position and both sides is a lot. Time for 3 things on a Thursday. Hit it, guys.
1, 2, 1, 2. 3 things.
Sponsored by Buckeye Lake Marina, Central Ohio's largest selection of new and pre-owned boats. Find your next dream boat at BuckeyeLakeMarina.com.
All right, so I think I said this yesterday. Number one for me, Bootsy has strep now, which I don't even think you could get this time of year. But I guess when it's 52 degrees is the high and 40 at night, and it rains constantly and you're standing in it, that's how you get it. So he's been on the antibiotic. He missed school yesterday, and so this morning I was like, what are we doing with this guy? And I was kind of hugging him, and I'm like, what are we doing with this guy, Mama? Do you think we maybe need to see a little bit? And he looked at me with a kind of a wry smile, and he goes, yeah, we need to see a little bit. And I said, oh, so do you want to stay home from school again? He goes, yeah, I want to stay home. And I'm thinking, like, you're not doing anything. He's got pajama day today. Like, they're just monkeying around at this point anyway. But I'm like, he really is my son, and he really is kind of the closest thing we're going to get to Ferris Bueller.
I got Guardians and Tigers today at 6:40. It's the first of a 4-game set. Next 7 for Cleveland are against the Tigers, and then you've got 3 against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Guardians right now at 26-22, but are 4th place in the AL Central. So I usually keep till after Memorial Day weekend to prognosticate how my team's going to do. Not well are the early return on it.
Yeah, they've had a great run. They can miss a year every once in a while.
Yeah, this will be that year.
Yeah.
The Columbus Clippers have a day baseball game today. Their first pitch is here in about 15 minutes. They had the same yesterday. They got delayed by about 45 minutes, but that had nothing to do affecting the Clippers' bats, at least. I've never seen this or heard of this in a baseball game before. So the Clippers are trailing 1-0. They go to the bottom of the third. Then they proceed in the bottom of the third to hit 5 2-run homers in the inning to take a 10-1 lead. They end up winning the game 14-5. Nobody I've talked to has ever heard of 5 2-run homers in one inning.
No, that has to be a record. Get the Elias Sports Bureau on that. They'll be able to track it down. Number 2 for me, so I got to tell you, today is mulch delivery day. It's in the 50s. It's rainy. The combination of mulch delivery, which is essentially just lighting money on fire, because I got to do it every year, and I'm like, what are we doing here? And even when we built, I'm like, I want all gravel mulch beds. I don't want to be having to do this every year. And somehow I ended up with what feels like 1 billion cubic feet of mulch. So that between that and the weather, this could be, I know I declared last Thursday that the weather had broken me. This might actually do it, literally, in this instance.
Second thing from me here, I'm just reading this from Pat Murphy of Bucknuts and 24/7 Sports. It looks like Texas is the biggest barrier into getting Ohio State and Texas, that game on August 30th, played at any other time than noon on that Saturday. Ohio State wants it.
Do you believe it? I'm not questioning the reporting, but I just wonder, like, Texas is that passionate about making sure it's at noon?
I buy it
as would be, but like
maybe a barrier.
I could also see, like, hey, let's not make sure that we don't get blamed. Like, if you're Fox, like, we'll use.
So that's where I was going to go. Is if Texas has any, like, let's just play it at noon. Fox goes, yeah, Texas wanted it. Don't get mad at us.
My second thing, I love Elly De La Cruz. I think he might be the most exciting player in baseball, but he does have some flaws to his game. And I also think this goes to show you how much sports have changed. Elly De La Cruz has played 309 games, just over 2 full seasons. He has 425 strikeouts. I know this guy was one of the best to ever do it. But Tony Gwynn played 20 seasons, 2,440 games, 434 strikeouts. So probably sometime next week, Elly De La Cruz will have more strikeouts in his career than Tony Gwynn, and God, that makes me sad.
Yeah, that's the game has changed more than a little, hasn't it? Finally, number 3 for me. In between watching the NBA, I was bouncing, and I happened to catch the beginning of one of my all-time favorites, First Blood. And so I watched like the first 20 minutes until it went to commercial. Then I went back to the NBA and did that kind of for the next hour and a half or so until we get Troutman on the scene. I got to tell you, I think Will Teasel was probably doing his job. I know Dennehy's the big bad in that, but I think he was probably doing okay, and I think it's that damn Art Galt that elevated it to points of no return. And if that doesn't happen, I think we probably get out of it without complete bloodshed that ended up happening. That really Will Teasel was doing the right thing by his town and is probably cast poorly in this thing, and it's really Art Galt who's the damn instigator.
what is it, 30 years later, and that does feel like it. Like
just wants a drifter. Let's
push you out. Hey, buddy,
maybe give him a sandwich on the way. Maybe that would have been the right way to do it. But
top men sometimes really step in it. Yeah. In First Blood case, they did. So Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk says that the NFL pushed the Packers to propose the tush-push ban and pushed the Lions to propose straight seating. If the NFL's trying to do this, does that mean that they just want these owners' meetings to have things that people talk about, as if they need more attention on the NFL? They really are the blob that eats everything.
They are, yeah.
It's the greatest show out there. It's kind of hard to believe to me that the Memorial is next weekend. Rothman and Ice will have the great Dan Sullivan, tournament director of the Memorial, on, so don't go anywhere.
There you go. You got that to look forward to, which is very, very nice. We are back tomorrow. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Here's a quick 10-second reminder that the Buckeyes have won the Natty. Also, we air all the games, and we always will. Thank you. Your home of the Buckeyes, The Fan.
We could tell you what makes Giant Eagle special, but we think our customers say it best.
I love the fresh produce. I love the fresh meat.
I'm pretty sure the fish guy knows me by now. We're buds.
I love to grill. That alone keeps me coming back.
The people that work here are so nice and so helpful.
Everybody loves the cakes from Giant Eagle.
On every shelf, in every department, we're always going for better, because being your Giant Eagle matters.
This is my Giant Eagle.
This is my Giant Eagle.
This is my Giant Eagle.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, I think I saw a fox on my way in.
Oh, that was the Carfax Carfox. He was congratulating us on our Carfax Top-Rated Service Center Award.
I have always rated Tire Discounters at the very top.
Oh, thanks. So does Carfax. And not just for tires, but for all our services, too.
Alignment, brakes, shocks, and struts, and more.
Yes, sir.
But, Mike, do you think people believe Carfax over me?
Well, you are the Phantom Tire buyer.
Exactly.
Hey, it's Leslie from Pella Columbus.
I'm Wilson from that other window place.
One of my favorite things, Wilson, is the look on people's faces when they see the end price for Pella windows.
Yeah, I'm always hearing, does it look like I'm wearing my money britches?
More like, I can't believe we get the Pella look and quality at these prices.
Oh, you went the other way with that. You're hearing good things. Oh, this is awkward.
Get the window that homeowners rated the leading window brand in Columbus at PellaColumbus.com.
Many drugs, like cocaine, methamphetamine, and non-prescription pills, are often cut with dangerous opioids like fentanyl. As a result, nearly 14 Ohioans die daily from unintentional overdoses. That's why it's important to carry naloxone, such as Narcan, a life-saving medication that blocks the effects of fentanyl and other opioids. Over the last 5 years, naloxone has saved over 83,000 lives. Help save lives and visit naloxone.ohio.gov to learn more and find free naloxone. Remember, if you see an overdose occurring, always call 911.
That's the sound of a Mountain Dew. And that's you enjoying its refreshing citrus kick. That's a cool breeze suddenly whistling through your hair.
Whoa!
That's you realizing you're now on a mountain.
This is epic!
That's you stating the obvious. That's you stepping up to the plate. That's you winning your kickball game.
Yes,
that's you taking another sip of your
Mountain Dew.
Do the Dew.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Hey, it's Bobby Carpenter. Spring into savings at Ohio Mulch. Get your mulch as easy as ever. Save $50 on home delivery now through Sunday. All you got to do is visit OhioMulch.com today.
Ohio Mulch, landscape supply.
Master Grillers Unite.
The grilling season never ends at Billiards Plus. Come see their best-in-class grills for yourself and check out Central Ohio's largest selection of pool tables, game furniture, and shuffleboard. Family-owned and operated.
Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Need assistance with door and window projects? The Home Depot can help. From inspiration and materials to ordering and installation, our free Millwork virtual apron service can get you moving and doing. Plus, we speak Spanish too. Our associates can help you tackle complex jobs without you leaving the job site, saving you time and money. Call us at 1-833-HD-APRON or visit homedepot.com/MVA. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
What? All the budget has to be used now? And we can use all the media buy?
Javier's marketing firm just got its dream funding.
Okay, ideas. Bobbleheads? No. T-shirt cannon? I seriously need some help here.
He needs to find marketing managers who are worth every dollar.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sponsoring a job on Indeed gives it a visibility boost, so you can hire faster. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.